Bella woke up feeling extremely ill. Xavier was not beside her in bed, and she struggled to walk due to dizziness. She hurried to the bathroom and began vomiting, realizing she had a fever. Bella thought that it might just be the flu, but as a werewolf with royal lineage, she doubted it could make her so sick. After a few minutes of throwing up, Bella's personal maid heard her and rushed to her aid. "Luna, are you feeling unwell?" she asked, worried. Assisting her in standing up, the maid asked. "Should I call the Alpha? He did not return last night. He informed the Beta that he is on a business trip and will be back tomorrow. But I should inform him about your condition." Shaking her head, Bella replied, "No need. I am sure it is just the flu." However, the maid suggested something unexpected. "What if you are pregnant?" Surprised, Bella widened her eyes, hoping it could be true. She had been trying to conceive without success due to a reproductive issue. Deciding to confirm her suspicions, she decided to call the hospital and schedule an appointment with her doctor. Bella changed into casual clothes, a dress suitable for the pack's gynecologist examination. Ever since humans and werewolves coexisted after the treaty, they shared facilities like hospitals and shopping centers. While werewolves had the option to contact the police, they usually preferred reaching out to their own authorities if they encountered danger or a criminal rogue. Considering she had struggled for 3 years to conceive, Bella opted to stick with one doctor and focus on her treatment. The day proved to be strange. Bella asked the maid to inform the limo driver to stand ready to take her to the PAX hospital, but the maid received news that the Alpha instructed him to retrieve some papers. After being mated to the Alpha for 3 years, Bella attempted to call her the Beta to send his driver to pick her up. However, he did not answer the call. Ultimately, Bella had to hail a taxi since werewolves and humans coexisted, making taxis readily available. Arriving at the hospital gate, Bella checked her cell phone and realized that her mate hadn't called her back. Feeling confused, she muttered to herself, "What is happening behind my back?" Dismissing the negative thoughts, she entered the hospital and greeted the doctor's assistant with a small smile. The assistant nodded respectfully and said, "Luna, the doctor requires a blood test first. Please follow me." Bella followed the assistant and had her blood sampled for a pregnancy test. Then, she waited in the doctor's office for approximately half an hour. As the Luna of the pack and the Alpha's mate, she received respect from everyone since the doctor was a werewolf as well. After a few minutes, the doctor entered his office, holding the blood test results. Bella's heart skipped a beat as she felt dizzy. The doctor smiled and delivered the joyful news, "You are pregnant." Taking a deep breath and struggling to believe it, Bella exclaimed, "Finally!" Despite wanting to celebrate, she knew she had to be cautious to protect her baby. The doctor warned her, "But be careful. We cannot risk losing this baby. Your pregnancy is delicate and unstable. Avoid anger, fights, jumping, or transforming into werewolf form. Just exercise caution." Bella nodded and replied, "Of course, thank you. I need to inform my Alpha mate now. I am certain he will be thrilled." When Bella answered a call from her uncle later, he expressed concern, asking, "Are you okay?" Feeling slightly uneasy about his worry, Bella responded, "We're fine, Uncle. Why do you ask?" Her uncle explained, "I heard Alpha Xavier took a pregnant she-wolf for a checkup a few days ago." Laughing, Bella replied, "You think Xavier is with someone else?" Her uncle confirmed it. Reassuring him, Bella said, "Uncle, if every male wolf in our species was unfaithful, Alpha Xavier would be the exception." However, when she called Alpha Xavier after ending the call with her uncle, his voice sounded cold. "I am busy right now. If it is not urgent, don't disturb me." Before she could respond, he hung up, leaving her shocked and holding the test reports. Bella and Alpha Xavier had been mates for 3 years, and she believed his love was deep and true. However, recently he had become distant, responding with coldness and silence. Bella couldn't help but wonder what had happened to her once sweet Xavier. Lost in her thoughts, Bella was interrupted by a female voice. "Hey, sis." It was Samantha, her half-sister from her father's affair, accompanied by an older she-wolf. Seeing Samantha, Bella felt irritated. "Don't call me your sister so casually. I am my mother's only daughter." Ignoring Bella's remark, Samantha asked, "Back for another infertility treatment?" Annoyed, Bella retorted, "That is none of your business." Samantha smirked and continued, "Don't you want to know why I am here? I am carrying Alpha Xavier's baby." Noticing Samantha's slightly bigger belly, Bella knew she had always pursued Alpha Xavier, even when they were announced as mates. Dismissing Samantha's claim, Bella told her, "You are imagining things." Samantha showed her a paper that shocked Bella. Alpha Xavier's signature. Impossible. 4 months prior, Samantha had proudly boasted to Bella about a night she spent with Alpha Xavier. She reveled in the fact that she was now pregnant with his child, and believed that this meant Bella would have to step down as Luna when the baby arrived. Infuriated by Samantha's audacity, Bella couldn't contain her anger and slapped her. To her surprise, Samantha fell to the ground, clutching her stomach and crying out in pain. Bella noticed blood on Samantha's fingers and couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Immediately, Samantha was rushed to the emergency room, and Bella reluctantly joined them. Despite her initial reluctance. When they arrived, Eleanor, Alpha Xavier's mother, stood in the doorway, her gaze icy and full of disdain. She accused Bella of attacking Samantha and insinuated that Bella's barrenness prevented her from allowing others to have children. Eleanor's words were hurtful, but Bella couldn't deny the truth that was staring her in the face. Overwhelmed with despair, she felt herself losing consciousness until the pack's healer delivered the devastating news that Samantha had lost the baby. Eleanor's sorrow quickly transformed into rage, and she attacked Bella with such force that everything went black. When Bella regained consciousness, she found herself in a white room. Struggling against the aching pain in her body, she propped herself up against the unyielding headboard of the bed. Just as she caught her breath, the door creaked open, revealing a man with gold-rimmed glasses. "Good afternoon, Miss Moonshadow. I am Alpha Xavier's lawyer," he greeted. Bella was taken aback by the lawyer's presence, and replied with surprise, "Lawyer? Yes, that is correct. I am Alpha Xavier's personal lawyer. He asked me to discuss the matter of an impending divorce with you," the lawyer explained. "A divorce? Xavier wants to divorce me," Bella repeated, struggling to comprehend the situation. Approaching her, the lawyer placed a document beside her. "This is the divorce settlement. Please take a look." Trembling hands attempted to process the lawyer's words. The idea of Xavier presenting her with the divorce papers was beyond her wildest imagination. She couldn't bring herself to even glance at the document. Turning to the lawyer, she mustered the strength to utter, "Tell Alpha Xavier to meet me in person and explain his intentions." "Alpha Xavier is too busy for that." "He won't be able to meet you," the lawyer responded coldly. "He is too busy. He can't meet me." Bella scoffed, realizing how distant they had become. When had their relationship deteriorated to the point where he would prevent her from seeing him? Desperate for answers, she reached for her phone on the bedside table and dialed Xavier's number. To her horror, the call was blocked. The realization sank in that she and Xavier were now in a seemingly hopeless situation. First an affair, and now a divorce. The lawyer stood there, glaring at the ticking clock impatiently. "Miss Moonshadow, please review the contract. I don't have much time." Bella noticed the lawyer's change in attitude. During their 3 years of being mated, Anyone associated with Xavier had treated her with respect and kindness. However, the lawyer's gaze now carried a coldness and detachment she had not experienced before. It was clear that this was what Xavier desired. Taking hold of the divorce agreement, Bella reluctantly scanned the section that detailed the division of their belongings. Tears welled up in her eyes as she read the words, "All properties and belongings that Alpha Xavier owned before the mating shall remain his after separation." Xavier had once vowed that Bella was his world, and everything he owned would be hers as well. Yet, within a mere 3 years, his love for her seemed to have vanished. Was this the true Alpha Xavier? He had betrayed her, even impregnating another she-wolf. As his infertile mate, it seemed only natural for Bella to step aside. Her heart ached with bitterness. Unable to continue reading the agreement, she turned her attention to the lawyer who watched her intently. "Give me a pen." The lawyer rifled through his briefcase, retrieved a pen, and handed it to her. As she took the pen, he added, "Alpha Xavier has also mentioned that you cannot keep any of the valuable items he has given you." Bella stared resolutely ahead, seemingly frozen in time. Just as the lawyer anticipated her rejection, she murmured, "Fine." Then, Bella picked up the pen and signed her name on the divorce papers. The lawyer briefly reviewed the agreement before turning to leave. Outside the hospital, a luxurious car gleamed in the sunlight. As the window rolled down, revealing an incredibly handsome face, the lawyer hurried over to the vehicle. "Alpha Xavier, Bella has signed the papers." "So? She signed it?" Xavier whispered slowly, studying the lawyer beneath thoughtful eyes. The lawyer appeared nervous, as if he wanted to respond, but remained silent. Xavier then averted his gaze from the lawyer and shifted his attention to the night sky. After a moment of contemplation, he simply uttered, "You may leave," refusing to let Xavier drive off without speaking to him. Bella jumped in front of his car, forcing him to step out and face her. She shouted at the top of her lungs, "Xavier, get out and confront me. Don't be a cheating coward." Once sweet and innocent, Bella's days of naivety were long gone. The driver audaciously yelled at her, "Move out of the way." Defiantly, Bella snapped back angrily, "You can run me over, but I won't budge until I speak with my ex-mate Alpha Xavier." "Alpha Xavier, step out of your limo and face me. Don't be a cheater and a coward," she shouted with frustration, her voice filled with determination. "You've already signed the divorce papers, so what more do you want?" "Money," Xavier responded with boredom and indifference, refusing to meet her gaze. In response, Bella raised an eyebrow, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Living among humans seems to have caused you to forget that those papers only concern property division. But we are werewolves." Confusion flickered in Xavier's narrowed eyes as he attempted to process Bella's words. She accepted the money from him, and just as he turned his back to return to the car, he muttered, "I knew you were only after the money." However, Bella stopped him in his tracks, declaring loudly, "I, Bella Moonshadow, am breaking the mating bond with you, Alpha Xavier." His gasp revealed his shock, as if she had taken his breath away. A sudden pain pierced Xavier's chest, a sensation he tried to conceal. He never expected that severing the mating bond would mean Bella would not only take his heart and soul, but also a part of his essence. Looking back at Bella, he saw her holding her head up high. She threw the money back at him and walked away with her dignity intact and her unborn child protected. Yet the world still seemed as chaotic and unjust as ever. Bella found herself in an unpleasantly night in their pack's territory, sandwiched among the extravagantly dressed elites and the restless media at the Moonlight Howl Hotel. The pack held a grand gathering, inviting all the high-ranking wolves of the Alpha territory. The reporters, sniffing out a juicy story, had swarmed in anticipation. As the night swelled to 8 o'clock, A flashy car rolled in front of the hotel, igniting a frenzy among the crowd. It is Alpha Trevor. Alpha Trevor of the pack has arrived. Reporters tripped over one another, pointing their cameras like some kind of modern weaponry. And out came Carl Trevor, dressed in a pristine white suit, a questionably innocent smile tugging at his lips. From the other side of the car, Alice, a she-wolf, surfaced in a stunning fit of elegance. Hand in hand they posed for the media, generously offering the photographers their best shots. Meanwhile, Bella sat in the car, riding on a wave of contempt. Forced to trail along as Carl's assistant, she couldn't help but question his reasoning. What use would an assistant be at a social gathering? Miss Moonshadow, please exit the car. Alpha Trevor will be displeased if you are tardy, cautioned the driver. Reluctantly, Bella stepped out, briefcase in hand, suffocated by the resignation slowly tightening around her. Carl and Alice had already made their grand entrance. She hurried to catch up, but as soon as she did, a reporter's voice rang out. Alpha Xavier is here too. The mere mention of Xavier's name yanked Bella's attention around. There he was, dressed in a sharply cut black suit, his confidence as dazzling as ever. 3 years, yet nothing had changed. He was still the same magnetic force. The car's door swung open again, revealing Samantha. Her fiery red dress underscored her radiant smile as she stepped out leisurely. What a perfect couple, gushed one reporter. Absolutely. A strong alpha and the daughter of a beta, a match made in heaven, agreed another. Scathing remarks had become the night's theme. Bella watched the pair being admired and scoffed at the blatant hypocrisy. A disloyal wolf and his lover, they are indeed a perfect match, she thought, her heart boiling over with scorn. The grand balancing act of this cruel world continued, and she was merely a player forced to act her part. She could not bear to see the monstrous charade playing out before her. With haste, she swiveled away to follow closely behind Carl. By this time, Carl and Alice had already entered the elevator. The lift was nearly ready to close, and from fear of being left behind, Bella sprinted as fast as she could. At the very last moment, when the lift was almost shut, she managed to stretch out her hand, allowing the doors to reopen. Carl scoffed as he watched her stumble into the lift. Miss Moonshadow, it seems you have a knack for causing a ruckus. I'm sorry. Bella quickly bowed her head and apologized. Carl purely snorted in response. Keep up properly next time. If you pull something like this again, I'll leave you behind. Yes. Alpha Trevor, I'll surely keep that in mind, she replied hastily, observing that her behavior was subservient and submissive. Carl did not continue his lecture. The elevator halted on the 18th floor. Arm in arm with Alice, Carl sauntered out of the elevator. Bella accompanied them dutifully, her grip tight on the briefcase, as they reached the grand hall's entrance. Carl turned to her and commanded, "Wait in the lounge and ensure you are available. If I can't reach you, there will be deductions from your monthly bonus." Yes. Alpha Trevor, I understand, Bella replied, watching Carl and Alice disappearing into the grand hall. Bella turned and retreated to the lounge. Simultaneously, the lift on the other side chimed its arrival. Out walked Alpha Xavier and Samantha. Xavier's hawk-like gaze scanned the large corridor when he noticed Bella retreating into the waiting lounge. Xavier faltered and squinted. Was that Bella? No, she vanished 3 years ago. How could she be here? It must be a mistake, Xavier comforted himself. Samantha noticed Xavier's gaze fixed on the end of the corridor and followed his sight. However, she only found an empty corner. Xavier, what are you gazing at? Nothing. Let's proceed. Xavier, shaking away his confusion, commanded. starving and waiting in the lounge for over an hour. Bella was beginning to feel weak. Carl was indeed inhumane, enjoying an opulent feast with a gorgeous she-wolf, leaving her, his assistant, to starve here. Such unfairness. As she mentally complained about her circumstances, Carl's voice came through the intercom. "Find something to eat in the hall. Remember my instructions. Don't linger around. Once you are done, head straight back to the lounge and wait." "Yes, Alpha Trevor," she responded. Opening the door, she walked directly into the grand hall, a bustling hive of werewolf high society. She shot a cursory glance over the sea of well-dressed wolves before heading to the buffet lineup. She picked up a glass of juice and filled a plate with food. Just as she was about to sit down somewhere and eat, a voice boomed behind her. "Fetch me some food, Bella." She turned around and found herself face to face with a woman caking herself in excessive makeup. "Isn't this Samantha's best friend, Yelena?" she thought to herself. Yelena seemed just as startled to see Bella. Bella was dressed in her work uniform, so Yelena naturally mistook her for a waitress. However, her surprise was palpable when they locked eyes and Yelena recognized her as Bella Moonshadow. "It's you," Yelena gasped. Ignoring her, Bella set off to carry on with her work. Yelena looked stunned momentarily, but she quickly collected herself and barred Bella's way. "So, you are a server here? This is too funny," she jeered. "Is it really that amusing?" Bella retorted, cool as ice. "Absolutely, Bella. Weren't you all high and mighty prior to this? Look at you now, reduced to a mere waitress. Life surely takes unexpected turns, doesn't it? Now, how about you fetch me some food?" she continued, her words like slaps in Bella's face. Yelena appeared to relish her newfound dominance over Bella. She had always carried deep-rooted animosity towards Bella. Bella had been blessed with beauty, luck, and nobility, but now abandonment by Alpha Xavier left her as a common server, providing Yelena with the perfect chance to humiliate her. Bella found Yelena's attitude revolting. She walked past her, resolved not to waste her time arguing with a bully. However, Yelena seemingly had her heart set on pulling Bella down. "Bella, do you honestly think you can disobey me? Don't underestimate me. I can have you fired," she threatened. "You intend to fire me? Yelena, you are very good at self-flattery." Bella snapped back at her. "Dare you disrespect me?" Yelena's foot stomped angrily. Her fury was evident. Previously, she had been hesitant to mess with Bella as she was Alpha Xavier's mate and he was fiercely protective of her. But with him out of the picture, Bella was merely a lowly server to her. In Yelena's eyes, crushing Bella would be as easy as squashing an ant. "I'll get the Alpha informed right away and have you dismissed," Yelena yelled, her voice echoing across the room. "What is the matter, Yelena?" A soft voice infiltrated the situation. "Samantha, you couldn't have shown up at a better time." "Look who is here," Yelena sneered, gesturing towards Bella. Bella stared steadily at Samantha, meeting her gaze head-on. Unmistakable shock flashed across Samantha's face. "Why is Bella here?" She must have been wondering. Samantha looked utterly stunned, but she did a good job at concealing it. She flashed a polite smile and said, "Hello, sister." Bella regarded her icily and retorted, "Miss, I think you've mistaken me for someone else. Dear sister, I know you still hold a grudge against me, yet my hands are clean. Alpha Xavier was the one who fancied me, even though it had been 3 years. The past still ached like a fresh wound." Bella didn't want to expose her torment to these people, so she pivoted and strode away. However, Samantha's arrival seemed to empower Yelena. She scuttled towards Bella and shoved her hard, causing her to spill her drink all over. Some of the juice splashed onto Yelena as well, sparking an outburst. "Hey, look what you've done!" As Yelena fussed, her eyes sparkled with a strange glee. Clearly, she now perceived Bella as a simple waitress, eager to slander her in hope of getting her fired. Bella's eyes smoldered with indignation. In days past, she would have countered Yelena's audacious move with a firm slap. But times had changed. She was no longer Bella Moonshadow, beloved maid of Alpha Xavier. With this in mind, she swallowed her anger and attempted to leave. However, Yelena was not done. Seeing Bella not retaliate, she shot a triumphant glance at Samantha before making a grab for her hair. Without any warning, she upturned a glass of red wine onto Bella's neck. The freezing beverage seeped down her neck and drenched her clothes. Whether it was intentional or not, Yelena had pushed her into Samantha's path. Samantha carelessly swung her arm, spilling more wine onto Bella's face. The stinging assault on her eyes was unbearable. Bella had wanted to maintain her dignity and walk away, but Yelena's relentless goading stirred up her anger. It was obvious that Yelena and Samantha were on the same team, ready to tarnish her reputation once again. Since they were hell-bent on painting her as the villain, she saw no reason to show them any courtesy. Enraged by their blatant disregard, Bella seized the food-laden plate she was holding and dumped it on Yelena's head. Yelena let out a piercing scream. Clearly, she hadn't anticipated that. Being a fan of spicy food, Bella's plate was packed with it. The chili-laden sauce ran down Yelena's hair and soon seeped into her eyes. The pain must have been unbearable. Yelena's grip on Bella's hair slackened as she shrieked in agony. Without heeding Yelena's cries, Bella turned toward Samantha. Then, without any warning, she slapped her across the face. Samantha wore a flabbergasted expression. Probably didn't expect Bella to retaliate. Casually, Bella flicked some leftover sauce from her plate onto Samantha, ruining her designer gown with spice splatter. Visibly distressed, Samantha began hollering, "Come here, someone help me out here." In a matter of seconds, chaos erupted as if a fierce battle had broken out among high school girls. The commotion caught the attention of the nearby werewolves, who watched as security swiftly intervened. Bella, dressed in simple attire, was mistaken for a waitress amidst the exclusive gathering of their kind. The security, with their haughty demeanor, wasted no time in pushing Bella out of the main hall, seemingly unconcerned about the incident. Meanwhile, Yelena had been hurriedly taken to the hospital due to spicy sauce getting into her eyes. Samantha, her elegant evening dress smeared with sauce and a handprint on her face, was distraught. Alpha Xavier, drawn by the commotion, approached Samantha to find out what had happened. Samantha, secretly fearing Xavier discovering Bella's presence, tearfully explained. "Xavier, Bella was here, working as a waitress. For some reason, she intentionally spilled juice on us when she saw me and Yelena." Yelena confronted her, but Bella lost control and threw food at Yelena and slapped me. Xavier was taken aback, scanning the area but unable to spot Bella. Samantha, pretending to be upset, continued. "Now I am a mess, and she slapped me, but Yelena, she shielded me and got spicy sauce in her eyes." Concern etched on his face. Xavier reached out to comfort Samantha, who was wiping away her tears, and asked in a chilling voice, "Where is she?" The security guards took her to a nearby room. Samantha replied, "Let's go and see." Xavier replied as he escorted Samantha out of the hall. Meanwhile, Bella was led by the security guards to a room adjacent to the hall. They lectured her sternly while one of them called the local authorities. As she sat on a couch, soaked in wine and reflecting on her actions, she realized the consequences of her anger would likely be severe. Carl Trevor, her employer and mentor, was known for his dark temper, especially when it came to her. Despite being assigned to him as her assistant at Alpha Zachary's insistence, Carl seemed to harbor a deep dislike for her, making her life difficult. Given the scene she had caused, Bella knew that Carl would most likely terminate her employment. Suddenly, the door swung open, followed by a cold gust of air. Bella looked up to find herself face to face with Xavier, her ex-husband who had coldly served her divorce papers 3 years ago. Since then, she had left the pack and never expected to encounter Xavier again, let alone on her first day back in the pack city. He stood there, exuding an air of power with Samantha by his side, gripping her waist possessively. Bella wondered if he had come to further humiliate her. Maintaining her composure, Bella met Xavier's stern gaze but quickly looked away. They meant nothing to each other now. He was just a stranger. Witnessing her icy demeanor, Xavier's expression hardened. With Samantha clinging to his arm, he walked into the room and commanded, "Apologize." His voice echoed ominously, intensifying the already chilly atmosphere. Bella remained silent. Why should she apologize for something she didn't do? Absolutely not, she thought. As she refused to speak, Xavier's face darkened. "Bella Moonshadow, didn't you hear me?" I said. "Apologize? Why should I? Do you consider yourself our king, Alpha Xavier?" She retorted disdainfully. "It doesn't matter whether I am your king or not. You deliberately harmed someone. Yelena was taken to the hospital. You must face the consequences," he shot back. The threat was clear, but Bella understood that he was defending Samantha, not Yelena. How could she possibly apologize? She responded with a faint smile. "Alpha Xavier, you hold great power here. Do as you please. I'll be waiting. As for the apology, perhaps it'll have to wait for our next lives." Bella's indifference seemed to affect Xavier in some way. There was a pained look in his eyes. "Bella Moonshadow, if you choose to be obstinate and foolish, don't say I didn't warn you," he remarked icily. He then turned to the security guard, asking, "Did you call the police?" "Yes, Alpha," the guard dutifully replied. "Let the law handle this. Let's see how long you can keep up this act," he declared before leaving the room with Samantha. As they departed, the chilling air gradually dissipated as she watched Alpha Xavier's impassive face and listened to his heartless words. She couldn't help but drop her gaze to hide the sadness welling up in her eyes. She couldn't understand what had caused Alpha Xavier to treat her with such cruelty, especially after 5 years of love and 3 years of being mated. What had she done to deserve this? 3 years ago, Alpha Xavier had abruptly ended their mating bond and cast her out without offering any explanation or leaving her with anything. Now, after all this time, he wanted to send her to the pack authority without considering the truth behind the situation. In that moment, Bella couldn't help but question her own judgment. How had she fallen for an alpha as cold and ruthless as Alpha Xavier? Werewolves were known to be heartless, but he seemed to exceed them all in his harshness. Despite her firm refusal to apologize, Bella was eventually taken to the pack authority, where she was questioned according to their procedures. During the proceedings, her phone rang, and it was Alpha Carl Trevor on the other end. His voice sounded exasperated as he questioned her whereabouts, reminding her that he had instructed her to wait at the pack house. Apologizing, Bella explained that she was currently at the pack authority, but she hesitated to reveal the true reason behind her presence there. How could she possibly explain to Alpha Trevor that she had encountered the she-wolf who had ruined her mating bond, causing a conflict that had led to her being dragged to the pack authority by her ex-mate? Noticing her hesitation, Alpha Trevor's impatience grew, and he abruptly stated that he no longer needed her, threatening to inform Alpha Zachary. The call ended, leaving Bella with the dial tone and a sense of despair. Was she responsible for bringing all this misfortune upon herself? One of the authorities who sympathized with Bella approached her with kind advice. He suggested that she apologize to both the Beta's daughter and Alpha Xavier to put an end to the situation. Though she managed a faint smile of gratitude, Bella made it clear that she had nowhere else to go. Remaining at the Pack Authority would at least provide her with some food and shelter, allowing her to survive. Consequently, she saw no need to apologize to those who had mistreated her. Understanding her stance, the authority member sighed and left her alone. Bella knew all too well that Alpha Xavier wouldn't just let her off the hook. At that moment, all she could do was wait and see what he would do. Could he truly believe himself to be above the pack laws? Bella doubted it. Lost in her thoughts, Bella was startled by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the door. It swung open to reveal Alpha Carl Trevor, known for his fiery temper. He couldn't believe the audacity Bella had shown, causing so much trouble as his assistant. Bella Moonshadow. I can't believe your nerve. Trevor warned, his voice filled with anger. Whispering his name, Bella replied, Alpha Trevor, you are turning out to be the most trouble-causing assistant I've ever had. All you seem to do is stir up problems. Trevor reprimanded her fiercely. However, as he noticed her current state, his words trailed off. Concern filled his voice as he exclaimed, What on earth happened to you? Not much. Somebody spilled wine on me, Bella lied smoothly, catching him off guard. Frustrated, Trevor cursed under his breath and immediately began using his cell phone. Determined to find the person responsible and teach them a lesson, he ordered 2 warriors to be sent to him. But Bella intervened, pleading with him not to punish the female wolf who had harmed her, as she was currently in the hospital. She emphasized that she was the target, not the other wolf. Impressed by her response, Trevor's mood visibly shifted, and a wicked smile played on his lips. Well said. It is all right. No one would dare touch you when I am around. Stand up. Let's go, he declared. Perplexed, Bella asked, Go where? What? Would you rather stay here? Trevor retorted, already turning to leave. After a brief moment of hesitation, Bella rose to her feet and followed him. Surprisingly, no one attempted to stop them as they left the pack headquarters. Bella walked by Trevor's side, feeling a sense of relief as they made their way through the premises without any obstacles. When they reached the parking area, Trevor turned around and burst into laughter as he surveyed her disheveled state. From a distance, Bella watched as Alpha Carl Trevor began to laugh uncontrollably. She often observed him in this manner, and it took a while for him to regain his composure. Wow, Bella Moonshadow, you truly are something, he scoffed. You are not pretty and you can't do anything properly, but I'll admit, you are brave. Which sound-minded werewolf would desire you as a mate? Bella felt a sting in her chest from his words and silently gazed at the ground. Regardless of her feelings, Trevor continued, You've spoilt my evening, wasted my time when I could have been with Alice. Make your own way home. Plus, your allowance for this month is slashed by half. He got in his car and sped off, leaving Bella standing there. After a moment of being alone, she began her long walk to the nearest bus stop. A few minutes later, a grand limousine pulled into the police station's parking lot. Alpha Xavier sat quietly in the back while Carl, his aide, opened the door. Alpha Xavier, do you want to take a look inside? Carl questioned. No need, he replied. Just make sure she doesn't goof up like this again. I am not saving her anymore. Carl nodded before walking into the police station, leaving Xavier alone in the limo. Bella trailed after the vehicle, unable to see them but able to overhear their conversation. On the phone, Xavier spoke. Bella is always so reckless. She stormed off without taking any cash. How couldn't she have led a more responsible life? What is a scruffy waitress like her doing in our circles anyway? He lit a cigarette just as Carl came out of the station. Alpha Xavier, Bella's been taken. Taken. By whom, Alpha Zachary? Xavier asked. Carl shook his head. No, by Alpha Carl Trevor. Xavier smirked at the news, Knowing of the close friendship between the two alphas, and seeing Bella being taken as confirmation of her importance to Zachary. Crushing his cigarette, Xavier commanded, "Let's proceed." After a long bus ride, Bella finally arrived home to find her Uncle George in the living room. Taken aback by her appearance, he asked, "Bella, what happened to you?" "I faced a bit of trouble," she confided, holding nothing back. "Bella, you should not have gone back." He began to scold. "Uncle, I can't stay with Zachary indefinitely. And besides, I've been concerned about you," she replied, trying to calm him down. Worried about his health and the trouble it was causing Bella, he sighed. To console him, she informed him of the Alpha Corporation's expansion plans to the Seaview City Pack, which could potentially relieve them of constant conflicts. At the same time, an old servant from her father's house was keeping tabs on her estranged sister and her manipulative mother and reporting everything back to her. At the Turner family home, Samantha barged in looking for her mother. A visibly shocked Pamela Green asked, "What happened, Samantha?" "Let's head upstairs," Samantha declared, and led her mother to her room. Once inside, she exclaimed, "Mom, Bella Moonshadow is back." "What do we do?" "Is it true?" Pamela asked, in disbelief. Once it was confirmed, Pamela was nervous about Bella's return, and the possibility of her father finding out. They both knew they had to act quickly before anyone else learned of Bella's return or their connection to her. It was the dead of night when Bella finally drifted off into a troubled sleep. Her dreams were filled with the memories of a painful past, bringing her back to the trauma she had experienced 3 years ago. In her dream, she recalled the moment when her sister, Samantha, had proudly announced her pregnancy, claiming that the baby belonged to Alpha Xavier. In a fit of rage, Bella had slapped Samantha, causing her to miscarry. The sight of blood spreading across the ground haunted Bella, along with the harsh words of her mother-in-law, Eleanor, who accused her of denying others the joy of motherhood because she couldn't conceive. Bella was then handed a divorce agreement pushed in front of her by a lawyer, who explained that Alpha Xavier didn't have the luxury of time and urged her to sign. The pain of losing the man she loved was unbearable, and 3 years later, the nightmares still plagued her, waking up in a cold sweat. Bella checked the time on her phone. It was only 5 in the morning, but she couldn't go back to sleep after such a jarring dream. She decided to take a shower to calm her nerves and changed into fresh clothes before heading to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Although Alpha Carl Trevor was known for his flirtatious ways, he was also a hard worker. Bella had joined the South City Pack recently, and there was a lot of work to be done. Alpha Carl was efficient and expected the same from his assistant, so Bella didn't dare to slack off. After finishing her breakfast quickly, Bella grabbed her bag and hurried downstairs. Her apartment was run down and poorly maintained, but she didn't have much choice. As she made her way through an alley, she failed to notice a black luxury car parked nearby. With Alpha Xavier inside, he observed her with a pensive gaze as she rushed to catch the bus. Although their eyes met, Bella ignored Alpha Xavier and boarded the bus. She rushed into work, the first to arrive that day. After making herself a cup of tea and tidying up the office, she settled into her chair and turned on her computer. Alpha Carl Trevor and his aide, Lucas, arrived shortly after. Surprised to see Bella already at work, Alpha Carl couldn't help but mock her, commenting on her unlikely chances of receiving a bonus. Throughout her 3 months as his assistant, Bella had known Alpha Carl to be a ladies' man, so she made sure to dress modestly and refrain from wearing makeup. She even wore glasses, knowing that Alpha Carl disliked them, in order to avoid his advances. Although Alpha Carl often belittled her, Bella didn't let his words affect her. She had grown immune to his harshness. However, this time, Lucas couldn't hold his patience and tried to change the subject. "Alpha Carl, have you heard about Alpha Xavier's engagement?" "What should we get him as a gift?" Lucas asked. The mention of Alpha Xavier's engagement took Bella by surprise. Her heart raced, and she looked up at Lucas, unable to hide her shock. Chapter 8. In the past 3 years, Bella had paid no attention to the news surrounding Alpha Xavier. Little did she know that he still hadn't married his mistress, Samantha. Alpha Carl sneered as he commented, "Alpha Xavier is getting engaged to the Beta's daughter. We'll have to give them a great gift, whether it is out of respect or for the Beta." Confused, Bella asked, "Alpha Carl, what should we give as a gift then? Why don't you figure it out?" Carl shifted his gaze towards Bella and said, "I'll leave it up to you. Go and pick out a gift." I don't know about this. Carl, you should ask someone else to do it." Bella immediately refused. She had no desire to choose a gift for Alpha Xavier and his mistress. "Can't you learn if you don't know?" Carl enjoyed tormenting Bella. In his eyes, she was already a 27-year-old woman who couldn't dress up or put on makeup. He inexplicably disliked her from the moment he saw her. If it weren't for Alpha Zachary's sake, he wouldn't have wanted Bella as his assistant. On her first day of work, he made it clear that he didn't like women with glasses and requested she wear contact lenses. However, Bella dared to defy him and continued to wear her unfashionable black-framed glasses. "Well, since you didn't follow my orders, don't blame me. I can't refuse Alpha Zachary, but I can certainly make your life difficult," Carl thought. Watching Bella's troubled expression, he felt an overwhelming sense of triumph. "I am leaving this matter in your hands. Make sure it pleases Alpha Xavier, or I'll fire you." "Yes, Alpha." Bella sighed inwardly and reluctantly agreed. At noon, Alpha Carl planned to meet with some pack members at the pack house. As usual, he brought Bella along. After taking care of the pack business, it was time for food and socializing. Carl, known as a playboy, invited the finest she-wolves in the pack. Inside the private room, the pack members started to get rowdy after a few glasses of wine, becoming amorous with the she-wolves seated next to them. Unable to bear witness to this, Bella stood up and said, "Carl, I'll be waiting for you outside. Go ahead. Just remember not to wander too far. You know what'll happen if I can't find you," Carl responded with a threatening tone. "I won't go too far. Just waiting by the door." As Bella walked away with her head down, someone asked Carl, "Carl, why did you choose such an ugly woman to be your assistant? Don't you feel uncomfortable looking at her?" "It is unbearable. I can't even find her attractive." Carl was unnecessarily cruel, amidst laughter from the pack members in the private room. Bella picked up her pace. Since she couldn't go too far, she stood in the corridor just outside the room, ready to follow Carl's orders. A group of wolves approached her, escorting a middle-aged wolf who appeared to be in high spirits. The moment Bella caught sight of him, she immediately lowered her head and stared at her toes. Beta Craig Turner, despite being escorted, had a feeling that something was amiss and turned around immediately. As his eyes landed on Bella, he recognized his daughter despite her outdated attire. Beta Craig blinked in surprise and said something to one of his pack members. Then he walked towards Bella and asked, "Bella, when did you return?" Raising her head, Bella looked at Beta Craig indifferently. "Is there something you need, Beta Turner?" Beta Craig looked at her with affection in his eyes, undeterred by her cold demeanor. "Where have you been?" "I've searched for you countless times over the past 3 years. Why didn't you call me, Daddy?" "My dad died a long time ago," Bella retorted coldly. "Bella." Beta Craig's voice softened, unable to be stern with his daughter. Although he was an esteemed Beta in front of others, he could never maintain a harsh demeanor with her. "You must be hungry. Come, let Daddy have a meal with you." "Forget it. Beta Turner, you have a mate and a daughter at home. Go back and be with them. Bella. Beta Craig reached out to hold her hand. Please, just have a meal with Daddy. Let go. Bella tried to pull away, but Beta Craig's grip was too strong. She couldn't loosen his hold. Beta Turner, if you continue like this, don't blame me. Bella, please, Beta Craig pleaded. Just then, a voice interrupted. What is going on here? Bella's father, Beta Craig Turner, suddenly let go of her hand, and both of them turned their heads to see Alpha Carl Trevor standing behind them, seemingly appearing out of thin air. Alpha Carl seemed surprised to see Beta Craig and exclaimed, Beta Turner? Beta Craig awkwardly laughed and replied, Alpha Trevor. Instantly, Alpha Carl forced a smile and questioned, Why was the Beta holding my assistant's hand? Are you harassing her? Beta Craig looked bewildered, glancing between Alpha Carl and Bella. Bella, are you working for Alpha Trevor? He asked. Bella couldn't help but think. Assistant. Is that how Alpha Carl sees me? Without showing any respect towards Beta Craig, Alpha Carl pulled Bella towards him and remarked, Beta Craig, my assistant could potentially become your daughter. Besides, she is not exceptionally attractive. Please make the right choice and avoid getting involved in scandals. It dawned on Bella that Alpha Carl Trevor had misunderstood her relationship with Beta Craig. Seeing Alpha Carl's protective gaze, Beta Craig didn't seem angry at all. Instead, he laughed. Alpha Carl was not only incredibly handsome, but also the alpha of the Trevor pack. Bella was sure that her father was hoping that she might date Alpha Trevor. That is why he didn't mention their relationship. He looked at Alpha Carl with a meaningful smile and said, Alpha Trevor, I must leave now as there are matters to attend to. Let's arrange to meet again next time. Alpha Carl's expression darkened as Beta Craig departed. He let go of Bella's hand in disgust and scolded, Are you a fool? Do you think it is appropriate for people to see you being held by an older man in public? No, Alpha Trevor. Bella responded, No? You know that too, don't you? Bella, have you lost your mind when it comes to men? Are you so desperate that you don't care? To the point of hooking up with older men? Alpha Carl's words were filled with venom. Bella smiled bitterly and replied, Alpha Trevor, it is not what you think. It better not be what I think. As my assistant, you have to maintain a good reputation and keep yourself clean. Otherwise, I'll fire you. Alpha Trevor warned Bella. I understand. There won't be a next time. Bella responded firmly. Alpha Carl Trevor seemed much more satisfied when he saw how submissive Bella was. You don't have to attend the pack gathering tonight. Go back and rest early. I have something for you to do tomorrow. By the way, make an appointment with Alice. Yes. Alpha Carl. Bella replied. It was unexpectedly good news for her that Alpha Carl showed such compassion and allowed her to rest. She assisted Alpha Carl in making an appointment with Alice before returning home. Since her uncle had been weak and sickly, Bella decided to stop by the market on her way home. She bought some fresh meat and vegetables, planning to prepare something nourishing for her uncle. As she walked out of the market, her hands full of groceries, she crossed the road and suddenly, a car came speeding out of nowhere. Before she could react, she was knocked to the ground. The pain shot through her palms and legs as they scraped against the rough surface. She tried to stand up, but the pain was unbearable. Suddenly, the car door opened and the driver stepped out. Are you all right? He asked, concern evident in his voice. I can't. She managed to say, her voice trailing off. The driver looked at her in surprise. Ma'am? What ma'am? Alpha Xavier has long abandoned this woman. What do you think you are doing? A rude and arrogant voice interrupted. Mrs. Eleanor, sitting in the back seat of the car, strode over with a haughty expression on her face. She showed no sympathy as she sneered at Bella. "Bella, did you do this on purpose? Did you fail to win over Alpha Xavier? And now you are trying to get his attention in this pathetic way." Bella seethed with anger. "Mrs. Eleanor, you are quite skilled at talking nonsense, aren't you?" "Talking nonsense? Didn't you use these kinds of tactics to seduce Alpha Xavier in the beginning? Now that you've heard he is going to be engaged to Samantha, you can't stand it anymore, can you? Are you planning to do something again?" Eleanor's disdainful gaze bore into Bella. Bella had endured that look from Eleanor countless times during her 3 years of marriage to Alpha Xavier. Back then, she was her daughter-in-law, and she couldn't talk back to her. But now, after their divorce, they were nothing more than strangers. There was no reason for Bella to tolerate Eleanor's unreasonable behavior. Yes, she was the Alpha's mother, but Bella wasn't an Omega either. She had royal bloodline, and she was capable of going into battle against the Alpha King himself for the crown. She was skilled, and her wolf wasn't weak. She had to hide the true her because they were not living among their kind, but they were living peacefully with humans. But they had their own lands, training spots, and warriors. She sneered at Eleanor. "Don't worry. Mating a cheating scumbag like Alpha Xavier once was enough for me. If I wanted to have anything to do with him, I must be out of my mind." Her words hit Eleanor hard, and unable to bear it, she slapped Bella across the face. Bella struggled to stand up, but the force of the slap sent her tumbling back to the ground. The bystanders, unable to witness Eleanor bullying Bella any longer, began to criticize her. How can she be so arrogant after hitting someone? "We should call the police." As the crowd voiced their disapproval, Eleanor's arrogance wavered, and she quickly retreated to her car, leaving Bella lying on the ground, bruised and battered. Upon hearing the surrounding werewolves wanting to alert the Alpha, Eleanor didn't blink an eye in fear. With a heightened voice, she declared, "What do all of you know about this? You think you are defending her against injustice. You should be aware, this she-wolf is notoriously vicious and despicable. 3 years ago, she murdered. To seduce her son, she attacked her daughter-in-law who was carrying her grandchild for 4 months and caused a miscarriage. Eleanor was a manipulator, a master of twisting the truth." Her words created a shift in the mood amongst the pack members present. Each pair of wolf eyes turned to Bella with disgust. "It's unbelievable, right? She's so young yet so monstrous." Bella shook with fury. She wanted to resolve this peacefully and leave, but Eleanor's provocation pushed her to alert Alpha Xavier. Alpha Xavier arrived swiftly. But Eleanor brazened it out. "Do you have any idea who my son is? He's the pack Alpha Xavier. My in-law is the Beta Craig Turner, the pack chief secretary. Think you can punish me? Better have the guts to do it." Surely, Alpha Xavier knew Beta Turner, so he couldn't handle the matter impartially. Instead, he turned to Bella, trying to convince her to resolve it privately. "This isn't a grave concern. Let's sort this out privately and ask Eleanor to make amends." "I refuse to resolve this privately." "Why should I?" Bella snapped back. "Even if you punished her, the outcome isn't going to be significant. My injuries are minor, and it is the driver who is at fault. The most that can be obtained is some compensation. Furthermore, she is the mother of Alpha Xavier and the in-law of Beta Craig Turner. Ordinary wolves like us can't outdo them, right?" Alpha Xavier voiced the bitter truth, and it stung. Bella refused to let the issue slip away quietly. With no other options left, and seeing Bella's wounds, Alpha Xavier made sure she got medical treatment. The pack doctor dressed the wounds on her hands and feet. As soon as it was done, hurried footsteps approached from outside the door. The door swung open. Alpha Xavier stepped in, followed by his beta, Carl. Bella was momentarily taken aback at the sight of Alpha Xavier. The pack doctor, recognizing him, respectfully greeted, Alpha Xavier, please step out for a while. I need a moment with her. The pack doctor complied immediately. Alpha Xavier then looked down on Bella and in a frosty voice said, Tell me, how much do you want? Expecting anything but that from Alpha Xavier upon his arrival, Bella quivered in anger. Alpha Xavier, do you think everyone is as shameless as you? Do you think everyone is so greedy and values power above all else like you? That's right. You are noble and unique. But haven't you fallen into such a pathetic state? Alpha Xavier scoffed, Bella Moonshadow. Once you left me, you are nothing. He was the one who wanted them separated and also the one who left her penniless. But now, this man was acting like she owed him something. How could he be so shameless? Bella's heart stung. She pursed her lips, hiding the sadness in her heart. She smiled at Alpha Xavier saying, Without you, I am still Bella Moonshadow. Did you know? The 3 years I was mated with you were entirely miserable. Now, I have found myself again. And I am finally living freely and happily. I don't have to bear your mother's abuse or put up with your heavy temper anymore. Do I still have anything to be upset about? Alpha Xavier's eyes were aflame with anger. If that is the case, why are you back? The Packlands are my home. Do I have to ask for your permission when I return, Alpha Xavier? There's no need. But Bella Moonshadow, be truthful. Did you come back because you heard that I am going to mate with Samantha? Well, Alpha Xavier, you think much too highly of yourself. Encountering a scoundrel like you once is tragic enough. I'd prefer to lose my sight than to sicken myself by seeing you again. So don't worry. I'll avoid you whenever you are around. She gave him respect. Yet her eyes held no compassion. Alpha Xavier seemed uncomfortable. Was this the Bella Moonshadow he once loved for 5 years? In the past, she always offered him a warm smile. She never spoke rudely, and she enjoyed curling up in his arms. However, the Bella he saw was more like a fierce wolf. When she looked at him, there was no trace of affection. This shouldn't be the case. He was the one who was wrong. Why does he have the audacity to act like this? He managed to calm his emotions and said, That would be best. I hope you will keep your promise and never cross paths with me again. And leave Samantha out of this. He carelessly tossed a gold card at her before leaving. She gazed at it. It felt like charity thrown at a beggar. She couldn't help but weep uncontrollably. 3 years ago, he cold-heartedly asked her to leave. 3 years later, he reported her to the pack authorities on the first day of their reunion. Now he humiliates her in such a cruel way. She despises herself. Why did she fall for such a despicable man? Why did she endure hell? For 3 years for him. After limping out of the hospital, Bella came across a homeless man asking for money. Nonchalantly, she tossed him the gold card that Alpha Xavier had given her. The man looked at it in disbelief, and as she was about to leave, Bella told him, There is no password or limit. Use it as you wish. Watching him cautiously but excitedly make his way to a nearby ATM. Bella felt a small amount of relief wash over her. The anger that had been building like a storm inside her dissipated a little. So, Alpha Xavier, you want to flaunt your wealth. Let's see you do it now, she thought to herself. She hailed a taxi and started her journey home. Because of injuries she had sustained in the car accident, she was unable to work the next day. When she called Alpha Carl Trevor to ask for leave, he answered, his voice laced with sarcasm. Bella Moonshadow. Are you becoming undisciplined because I allowed you to go home early yesterday? No, Alpha Carl. My hands and legs are really injured, she tried to clarify. From the sound of your voice, you don't seem injured. As long as you can get up, You should come to work immediately, even if you have to crawl here. With that, Alpha Carl hung up, leaving Bella frustrated and feeling cornered. She decided to endure his mood swings as she needed to work under him. She reluctantly accepted her circumstances and headed to the PAC's main office. Entering Alpha Carl's office, she found him leaning back in a chair, on a phone call. He looked taken aback when he noticed her limping in, her hand bandaged. "Are you really injured or just pretending?" he asked brusquely. "I am genuinely injured," she retorted. "Well, come here and let me verify," Alpha Carl commanded rudely. She lowered her head and made her way hobbling towards him. He grabbed her hand and began unwrapping the bandage. Once he saw her wounds, he finally believed her. "Why are you so reckless? Getting injured again so soon after your dispute at the celebration, was he even serious?" "I also had no intention of it happening this way," she mumbled, her eyes lowered in resignation. Standing so close to Alpha Carl, Bella couldn't help but catch the scent of his pheromones. Suddenly, Alpha Carl seemed intrigued. He had never shown any interest in her, whom Alpha Zachary had forcefully made his assistant. But as they stood face to face that day, there was a noticeable shift. Alpha Carl curiously studied her fair, slender fingers. As she stood before him, head bowed, he took note of her slender neck and glowing skin. "What am I thinking? Have I become so desperate to notice such an ordinary she-wolf?" He wondered. He recalled how, since the first day, she had never once looked him in the eyes, always keeping her head low and maintaining utmost respect. Alpha Carl had always been surrounded by endless admiring she-wolves, but here she was, unfazed by his charm. This realization instantly put him off. "Raise your head up," Alpha Carl commanded her roughly. With her head low, Bella replied softly, "Alpha Carl, let me know if you need anything." He seemed offended by her unintended defiance. Enraged, he gripped her chin and forced her to raise her head. As she unwillingly met his gaze, he was taken aback by her eyes, their beauty catching him by surprise. "Curses Alpha Zachary!" Alpha Carl cursed under his breath. Why was he cursing Zachary all of a sudden? Her chin ached from his grip, but she asked, suppressing her anger. "Alpha Carl, please, can you let go?" "Let go, of course, but only if you promise something to me." Curbing her rising frustration, she asked, "What is it?" Bella Moonshadow exited the Turner PAC building, her face still flushed from the encounter with Alpha Carl Trevor. She intended to head to the bus stop, but her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was her neighbor, informing her that her uncle had fainted and was rushed to the hospital. Worried, Bella hailed a taxi and rushed to the hospital, where she found her uncle still being resuscitated in the emergency room and her concerned neighbor waiting outside. Desperate for information, Bella approached her neighbor. "How is he doing?" she asked anxiously. "I am not sure," her neighbor replied. "The doctors are still working to stabilize him. It doesn't look good." Bella paced back and forth, her mind racing. After what felt like an eternity, a doctor emerged from the emergency room and asked for the patient's family. Bella stepped forward, fear gripping her heart. "The patient's condition is critical," the doctor informed her. "He is suffering from kidney failure and will need a transplant." Bella felt her legs give way and leaned against the wall for support. She took in the doctor's words, the weight of the situation sinking in. "What should I do?" "The most important thing right now is to find a suitable kidney donor," the doctor said sympathetically. "You can start by paying the hospitalization and examination fees." With a heavy heart, Bella went to the payment counter, her mind consumed with worry. It seemed that misfortunes had piled up on her. She had lost her job, and now her beloved uncle was gravely ill. As she paid the fees, Bella prepared to return home and gather some things for her uncle. But as she walked out of the hospital entrance, she accidentally bumped into someone, causing their belongings to scatter on the ground. The person glared at her in frustration. "Watch where you are going," she scolded, apologizing profusely. Bella quickly bent down to help gather the fallen items. The person's annoyance turned to surprise. "Bella!" Bella looked up, her eyes widening in recognition. Layla, Bella's friend and a renowned screenwriter-director at a television station, had been searching for her since she returned from studying abroad. Surprised by their unexpected encounter, Layla's eyes lit up with excitement. "Bella, I am planning a new reality show, and I need female guests to generate hype in the early stages. How about you come and be a guest?" Bella shook her head. "I can't," she replied sadly. Layla persisted, her enthusiasm evident. "Why not? You are beautiful, and your presence on the show would attract so much attention. This is a great opportunity, Bella. I've already secured sponsors, and the pay is extremely high. Plus, it is an easy gig. I'll provide you with all the information you need." Tempted by the offer and desperate for a lifeline, Bella hesitated. "Can I really do it?" Layla grinned and pulled out her phone. "Of course, I've found one guest already. Just need to find 5 more." With renewed hope, Layla handed Bella a stack of materials about the reality show and instructed her to study them carefully. Bella clutched the papers in her hands, grateful for this unexpected opportunity that could potentially change her life. On the journey home, Bella felt a bit disoriented. Layla's words about the fees and bonuses for the reality show filming intrigued her. She wondered if participating in the show could make her rich, especially since her uncle was seriously ill and she needed money. Bella had recently lost her job and had no source of income, so the idea of earning cash through the reality show was tempting. As Bella got out of the vehicle and approached her apartment, she encountered Alpha Carl Trevor. He was standing in her path, grinning at her with a roguish charm. "Bella, I've been looking forward to your arrival," he said. "What do you want?" Bella responded, clearly annoyed. Bella wasn't wearing her usual spectacles that day, and she exuded a newfound confidence. This pleased Alpha Carl Trevor, who said, "I need to talk to you. Please come with me." As he reached out to grab her, Bella instinctively pushed his hand away in fear. "Alpha Carl Trevor, what the hell do you want?" Alpha Carl Trevor didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand again. "I really need to talk to you. I am not in the mood." "Let go of me, Alpha Carl Trevor." "No, I won't," he insisted, pulling her towards his car. Panicked, Bella raised her hand to strike him, but he caught her hand mid-swing. She couldn't break free. He semi-lifted her and dragged her towards his car. Fearing for her safety, Bella called for help. "Help, I am being assaulted." Some people, passing by, stopped to observe, but Alpha Carl Trevor wasn't worried. He reassured them, saying, "She is my mate. We had an argument earlier, and I came to make things right." With his wealthy appearance and charm, coupled with Bella's attractive looks, people believed him. They thought they made a perfect pair. As Bella saw Alpha Carl Trevor forcefully trying to take her to his car, panic washed over her. She bit deeply into his hand, causing him intense pain and forcing him to let her go. Turning quickly, Bella ran away as Alpha Carl Trevor held his bleeding hand. "Heartless woman," he exclaimed. As he tried to give chase, the sound of a car's brakes filled the air. Alpha Xavier sat behind the wheel, glaring intensely at Alpha Carl Trevor. The glare made Alpha Carl Trevor uncomfortable. He chuckled nervously and asked Alpha Xavier, "What brings you here?" With a fake smile, Alpha Xavier replied, "What is going on here, Alpha Trevor?" "Well, since you've witnessed it, there is no point in hiding it. Bella the she-wolf can be quite feisty. Last night she wanted me to accompany her, But I was busy. It upset her. I came here to apologize, but she wasn't in the mood. She-wolves can be tricky. Alpha Carl Trevor explained, unaware of how his words were affecting Alpha Xavier. Alpha Xavier responded scornfully. Alpha Trevor, you always had a thing for she-wolves, didn't you? No. I may flirt with many, but she has captured my heart. I'll introduce her to you another day, Alpha Carl Trevor countered. Alpha Xavier's eyes became dangerous, and his fists clenched. Alpha Trevor, your taste seems to be declining. Are you saying she is not good enough? I find her incredibly attractive. She is even more exquisite than Samantha, your chief secretary's daughter. Don't you agree, Alpha Xavier? Alpha Carl Trevor's statement was both provocative and insulting, causing a shift in Alpha Xavier's demeanor. Haha. Alpha Xavier laughed. I fear her beauty is only skin deep. Alpha Carl Trevor was taken aback by this comment. His previously peaceful relationship with Alpha Xavier was now tainted without cause. With his hand throbbing in pain, he had no desire to engage in a verbal argument. I don't have time for this. That she-wolf just bit me. I need to go to the hospital to get this bandaged and prevent infection. As Alpha Carl Trevor drove away, a furious Alpha Xavier punched the steering wheel. She is such a disgrace. Getting close to Alpha Carl Trevor so quickly, Bella packed up her things and headed to the hospital, her sole focus being the care of her uncle. Upon arrival, her friend Layla provided her with new information regarding a werewolf reality show called Take Me Out and The Bachelor for Humans. The show featured 25 werewolf women who wore masks on stage and discussed their interests, personalities, beliefs, and views on love, marriage, and family. The male guest, Alpha Xavier, possessed the authority to eliminate contestants based on their statements. Finding a mate was of little concern to Bella, hence she deemed the show an easy way to make money without the need to reveal her true intentions. She called Layla to convey her review of the information. Is it truly an effortless way to earn money? Layla inquired. It appears promising, Bella replied. Not just promising, it is outstanding. You'd regret passing up this opportunity. The first episode will bring you earnings, and if the show gains popularity, the potential for even greater income exists. Trust me, the sponsors I have secured are top-notch companies. And guess what? Alpha Xavier himself has agreed to sponsor the show. You've known him for years, Bella. You are aware that any venture he supports is bound for success. Layla's point resonated within Bella. Alpha Xavier possessed a reputation for selecting profitable endeavors. However, Bella harbored no desire to be involved with him. Observing Bella's hesitation, Layla assured, Do not fret, Bella. Alpha Xavier will not have time for a show like this. Layla's remark held merit. Failing to seize this opportunity would be wasteful, particularly considering Bella's need for money. Determined, Bella made her decision. Layla, I am going to participate in this show. Delighted but surprised, Layla replied. That is fantastic. Come tomorrow and sign the contract. The following morning, Bella hastened to the television station and signed the contract for the werewolf reality show. The initial episode comprised 20 rounds, and if all went well, Bella stood to earn a substantial sum of money. She hoped it would assist in covering her uncle's medical expenses. Nonetheless, her quest to find a kidney donor for her uncle persisted. An arduous task. Bella's uncle's condition worsened rapidly. As informed by his doctor, time was of the essence in their search for a willing donor. Yet, Bella found herself at a loss on where to begin, lost in thought. Bella wandered back to the hospital entrance and unintentionally collided with Alpha Carl Trevor. Catching sight of her, he smiled and approached. Bella, why are you here? Are you all right? He inquired. Why do you care? Bella retorted coolly. As your alpha, it is my duty to take care of you. Naturally, your well-being concerns me. So, tell me, how are you feeling? Allow me to accompany you to see a doctor. Alpha Carl Trevor attempted to touch her, but she swiftly sidestepped and questioned, Why are you here? I am attempting to display kindness and aid you. To be obedient, he responded. Once more, he reached out to grab her. But Bella stood her ground and firmly questioned, What do you want from me? Bella didn't know if Alpha Carl Trevor was telling the truth, but she refused to give up on even the smallest chance. Determined, she quickly rushed to the Moonlight Haven Hotel. As she arrived at the hotel, she hastily opened the car door and swiftly made her way towards the elevator. Just as she stepped into the lift, she caught a glimpse of Alpha Xavier and Samantha. It was too late to retreat, and there was no reason to. Bella knew she was innocent, so there was no reason to fear this deceitful pair. Upon seeing Bella enter the elevator, Samantha immediately leaned against Alpha Xavier, making him slightly uncomfortable. He glanced at Bella from the corner of his eyes, but she didn't pay him any mind. With crossed arms and a cold expression, she stood aside, unfazed. Alpha Xavier felt anger bubbling up inside him, but he kept it bottled up. At first, he had intended to push Samantha away, but seeing that Bella was ignoring him, he chose to continue holding on to Samantha. Meanwhile, Bella was completely oblivious to their interaction. Her phone rang once again, and she hastily retrieved it from her pocket. Alpha Carl Trevor's voice came through, saying, 30 minutes is up. I am already in the elevator. Bella replied urgently, I gave you only 30 minutes. Since you couldn't follow the rules, let's drop this matter, Alpha Carl Trevor responded coldly. Panic seized Bella upon hearing Alpha Carl Trevor's icy tone. Alpha Carl Trevor, you can't do this. I am already here. There was a traffic jam. It is not my fault. As he observed Bella anxiously pleading her case, Alpha Xavier's heart burned with anger. This woman, back when they were dating, she was always the one making him wait. She was always late, but he never saw any apology from her. Truly comparison bred misery. Alpha Xavier simmered with frustration. Then the elevator came to a stop. Bella rushed out and made her way directly to the room where Alpha Carl Trevor awaited. Sensing Alpha Xavier's anger from his expression, Samantha saw an opportunity and decided to add fuel to the fire. Bella Moonshadow seems to be with Alpha Carl Trevor now. He is quite the playboy. Is it your business to meddle in others' affairs? Alpha Xavier retorted, clearly displeased, feeling slightly embarrassed by his cold and grumpy response. Samantha fell silent. Without wasting any time, Bella pushed open the door to the room. Alpha Carl Trevor sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, while Lucas stood nearby. Bella forced a smile and greeted Alpha Carl Trevor. Humph! Alpha Carl Trevor responded, glancing at his wristwatch. You are late, Bella Moonshadow. Alpha Carl Trevor, I apologize. Bella replied, maintaining her smile. Apologies. You do remember my rules, don't you? Yes, I do, Alpha Carl Trevor. Regarding the kidney source, Alpha Carl Trevor raised his bandaged wrist and blew on it before giving Bella a scrutinizing look. Regarding the kidney source, it is a piece of cake for me, but, suppressing her impatience, Bella interjected, as long as Alpha Carl Trevor can help me, I am willing to do anything. Willing to do anything? Alpha Carl Trevor drawled. Well, except for that. Bella stammered. Alpha Carl Trevor raised an eyebrow, finding Bella rather intriguing. Other women fell at his feet, but she showed remarkable resistance to him. He enjoyed seeking novelty, and Bella was exactly his type. Such things couldn't be rushed. Lost in thought, Alpha Carl Trevor's face transformed into a smile that was out of this world. Do you still want to fire me? No, not anymore. In that case, sign this contract. Alpha Carl Trevor signaled to Lucas, who opened his briefcase and produced the contract, handing it to Bella. Bella accepted the contract, feeling a sense of confusion. What is this? This is an employment contract. Didn't you fire me before? Well, let's sign it again. Your uncle's kidney source will be provided by me. The only condition is that you return to work at the office. Bella quickly scanned through the contract, failing to notice any differences. The doctor had warned her that her uncle's condition required urgent attention. She couldn't afford to waste any time. Determination welled up within her, and she tightly clenched her fists as she picked up the pen to sign. Alpha Carl Trevor's gaze remained fixed on Bella. Seeing her sign the contract, he motioned for Lucas to put it away. Then he smirked at Bella and said, "The contract is effective immediately. I will fulfill my duties, and I expect you to remember your responsibilities. Be ready to be on call at all times." Bella arrived at George's house gate with a chicken in hand, intending to make some soup for her uncle. And there she was confronted by Eleanor, Alpha Xavier's mother, who had been waiting for her. Eleanor wasted no time in getting to the point. "I have something to say to you. I am not free." Bella refused bluntly. "Just a few words," Eleanor insisted, determined not to let her go. "Bella Moonshadow, name your price." "What do you mean? I know you were bitter about the divorce settlement. So when you saw that Alpha Xavier was about to get engaged, you came back here to cause trouble. Well, I am telling you now, I will never let Alpha Xavier be with you. You should give up." "Don't worry, Eleanor. Your wishes align with mine," Bella retorted. "Is that so? Then leave Moonlight Falls immediately. I'll give you money. Once you have it, leave right away." Bella looked at Eleanor, her ex-mother-in-law, with a smile instead of anger. "Eleanor, how much are you planning to give me? How about 1 million? When Bella only sneered and didn't respond, Eleanor quickly added, "Fine, $2 million. And if you leave right away, I can add another $500,000. $2,500,000. Eleanor, do you think I am foolish? Well, how much do you want then?" Bella held up a finger. Eleanor frowned, saying, 10 million. "Bella Moonshadow, do you think I am easily swayed?" "No, Eleanor. I want $100 million. Give me that amount and I'll leave immediately." 100 million. "Are you crazy, obsessed with money?" Eleanor's expression changed. "Didn't you tell me to name my price? Let me tell you. Give me $100 million and I'll leave right away. Otherwise, forget about it." "You shameless woman, you lack gratitude," Eleanor cursed angrily. Bella sneered and said, "What is the matter, Eleanor? Are you angry because you are embarrassed? Since you can't meet the named price, why pretend to be so wealthy?" "Bella Moonshadow, don't be so audacious. I can still hold you accountable for Samantha's loss. If you don't listen to me, don't blame me. Really? Let's see what you are going to do. You wouldn't want your future daughter-in-law to be infamous as a mistress, would you? It wouldn't be a small scandal if Alpha Xavier's mate willingly became a mistress and destroyed someone else's family, right? You." Eleanor hadn't expected the usually quiet Bella Moonshadow to be so formidable. She was momentarily speechless. Bella, having no time to deal with Eleanor's nonsense, walked past her and continued on her way. As Bella walked away, Eleanor sneered. "You are too naive to fight against me, you little butch. Get ready to meet your end." Upon arriving home, Alpha Xavier caught the scent of his mother, Eleanor, seething with anger as she sat on the couch. His brows furrowed, his instincts sensing that something was amiss. "Mom, what is going on? Why are you all riled up?" he inquired. His concern evident. Eleanor turned to him, her voice dripping with frustration. "Xavier, that Bella Moonshadow is without honor. We underestimated her greatly," she snarled. Confusion clouded Xavier's thoughts. A growl rumbling deep in his chest. "You went after air?" he questioned. Eleanor shook her head, the contempt evident in her expression. "Nay, she came to me. This very mornin' she barged in demandin' $100 million, she revealed, her words laced with venom. Xavier knew his mother had no fondness for Bella and was eager to discredit her. Why in the name of the moon would she ask for that much coin? Xavier asked, trying to unravel the tangled web of deceit. "She is clearly covetous of her former life since divorcin'." "Yeah, Xavier. She must have seen the might of our pack and the bond form with Samantha. Now she is tryin' to extort me," Eleanor explained, her voice seething with resentment. "She threatened to expose Samantha's previous pregnancy and tarnish our reputation if we didn't comply." Xavier's anger flared, his wolf clawing to break free as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. Bella had crossed a line, and his fangs bared as he vowed to deal with her accordingly. Eleanor could sense his fury, her voice urgent. "Xavier, Bella Moonshadow is nothin' but a vile creature. We cannae let her carry out her threats. Ye must find a way to chase her out of our territory so she never sets foot again," she pressed, her words speaking of revenge and banishment. Xavier nodded, the weight of the situation settling upon his shoulders. "I can, Mum, deny ye fret. I'll handle this, I promise," he reassured her, his voice deep and resolute. Just as he was contemplating his next move, Xavier's phone buzzed, indicating a new message. He glanced at his screen, his nostrils flaring with anticipation. It was a notification about his bank card. "Your card ending ****** has been charged $20,000. The message read. Surprised by the sudden development, Xavier wondered why Bella would dare to use his card. It struck him then, a realization that she must be in dire need of money. Another text arrived swiftly, stating, "Your card endin'. ***** has transferred $50,000. Xavier pondered the turn of events and quickly dialed his beta. Carl, delve into Bella's circumstances. Discover if she is facin' any urgent monetary needs," he commanded. Alpha Xavier. "I was about to reach ye concernin' that matter," Carl replied hastily. "Her uncle is gravely ill, bein' treated in the hospital. Heard he be in need of a kidney transplant." Xavier absorbed this information, realizing that Bella's actions might be driven by genuine family concerns. "Very well, actively search for potential kidney donors," he instructed his beta. Ending the call, he swiftly made his way to the hospital. Arriving at George's hospital room, Xavier noticed Carl's presence, holding a fruit basket and speaking on the phone with evident worry. "Where are ye?" "Ye went home." "Which hospital?" he urgently questioned. Once Carl ended the call, he greeted Xavier with a smile. "Alpha Xavier, what an unexpected coincidence. Be ye here to visit someone as well?" he asked, feigning innocence. Xavier couldn't shake off the discomfort he felt in Carl's presence. "What brings ye here, Beta Carl?" he inquired, his tone laced with suspicion. Carl maintained his smile, seemingly oblivious to Xavier's unease. "My mate's uncle is gravely ill. Thought I'd visit and build a bond with him," he explained, masking his true intentions. Xavier's face darkened, understanding the implications of Carl's words. It was clear whom Carl considered his mate. Suppressing his rising fury, Xavier chose not to enter the pack house. Instead, he turned on his heel and left the meeting area. He positioned himself at the entrance and patiently waited. After half an hour, he spotted Bella hurrying in with a thermos in her hands. Xavier approached her, halting her in her tracks. "Did ye ask me mother for money?" he growled, his voice demanding answers. Bella took a step back, her eyes flashing with defiance. Have ye gone mad?" she spat. Her defiance only stoked Xavier's growing frustration. After simmering with pent-up rage for far too long, his tone turned harsher. "Quit playin' games, Bella Moonshadow. If you're in need of money, just say it. Why resort to underhanded schemes behind me back?" he accused, his voice laced with betrayal, confusion mixed with anger on Bella's face. "What in the moon's name are ye talkin' about? Alpha Xavier, explain yourself," she demanded, her tone sharp. Xavier remembered the bitter divorce, the fact that Bella had left their pack empty-handed. The memories flooded back, reigniting the pain. "Bella Moonshadow, I will nae let ye manipulate me any longer. Even if ye had beg, I'd refuse ye a single penny. Ye're wastin' ye're effort, understand," he declared firmly, his voice tinged with icy resolve. Bella's laughter abruptly ceased, replaced with a sneer. "I never had any faith in yez, Alpha Xavier. I never will," she spat, her words dripping with disdain. Her words etched into Xavier's soul like a poison, shattering the last remnants of his illusions. Bella remembered their past as vividly as he did, and she held no love or respect for it. And then came the final blow. Her outright denial of ever asking his mother for money made his heart ache. It left him feeling manipulated, entangled in some elaborate plot. 100 questions raced through Xavier's mind, his doubts gnawing at him. Had he been blind to the truth about Bella all along? Was it possible she hadn't approached his mother? Could she have been framed? The certainty in Bella's eyes as she denied needing his money left Xavier drowning in uncertainty. Recalling his mother's words, the recording, and now Bella's denial, he felt like he was stumbling through a thick fog, unable to grasp the truth, dejected and confused. Xavier was left to wrestle with a whirlwind of emotions, his mind consumed by thoughts that refused to settle. Why did it have to come to this? How did it all go so wrong? He silently lamented, his heart heavy with the brutal reality. Her scorn and ridiculing were unfathomable, slicing deeper than any physical pain. He was at a loss, grappling with her hostility and the mounting uncertainty surrounding her actions. But amidst the chaos and anguish, one uncomfortable truth grew clearer by the day. Bella Moonshadow, his former Luna, was no longer the woman he once loved. As Alpha Xavier chatted with Samantha, his attention was unintentionally drawn to a pair of individuals across from them. Bella caught his eye, looking composed and graceful in her old-fashioned attire. She sat beside Alpha Carl, who gazed at her with deep fondness and admiration. A possessive pang surged through Xavier. Remembering Carl's earlier interest in Bella and his affectionate conversation with her in the pack office, Xavier felt a rush of resentment towards him. He realized that Bella had strategically positioned herself to avoid his gaze. In that moment, their shared past felt like a distant echo fading into their current reality. Xavier was further unsettled by Carl's unwavering attention towards Bella. The lunch invitation and choice of their favorite restaurant, along with their engaging conversation, seemed like a deliberate plan to win her over. This was something Carl had never done for any other she-wolf. The words uttered by Carl, expressing his deep affection for Bella, echoed in Xavier's mind and stirred deep feelings of heartache. Despite Bella's indifference towards Carl, her focused gaze and controlled demeanor were not signs of submissive behavior towards an alpha. They showcased her resilience. Witnessing her strength softened Xavier's anger, leaving behind only sadness and regret. A fleeting thought crossed Xavier's mind, finding amusement in Bella's ability to maintain her grace and dignity under pressure, always leaving the men in her life, including himself, wanting more. As Xavier glanced at Bella once again, Samantha followed his gaze. Realizing who he was looking at, she smiled knowingly. "Xavier," Samantha murmured, drawing his attention back to her. "You seem lost today. Is everything all right?" Torn between his painful past and the pleasant present, Xavier managed a weak smile in response. "Yes, Samantha, everything is fine," he falsely claimed, his eyes betraying the turmoil he felt within. Bella Moonshadow, his former Luna, sat right across from him, under the affectionate gaze of another alpha, and he felt helpless. This was a situation he never envisioned himself in. Life had a strange way of circling back around. Bella found herself at the center of Alpha Xavier's intense scrutiny, causing a mix of dread and bittersweet satisfaction to flutter in her heart. Despite her best efforts, memories from their past relationship resurfaced with startling clarity. However, she resolved to keep her focus on Alpha Carl, the seemingly friendly wolf in front of her. Their dishes arrived, interrupting Bella's thoughts. A tear escaped her eye when she saw the moonlight shrimp skewers, a dish that held countless memories of her and Xavier. She quickly wiped away the tear, hoping Carl hadn't noticed. But the discerning wolf seemed aware that something was amiss. Anticipating his questions, Bella prepared herself. "Bella, do these skewers remind you of him?" Carl's voice broke through Bella's spiraling thoughts. Forcing a smile, she replied, "Alpha Carl, I am here as your assistant and packmate. It would be best if we don't let personal emotions interfere with our professional relationship." Carl nodded, his eyes holding a hint of respect, and dropped the topic. He took charge of the conversation, regaling Bella with stories about the pack. Despite his occasional glances in Xavier's direction, the conversation remained light, providing some distraction from the pain of the meal. Bella's wolf self longed to steal glances at Xavier, curious to see if he was as happy with Samantha as they had once been. But she resisted, refusing to give either of them the satisfaction. She redirected her focus to the present moment, finding support in the wolf beside her. As the meal came to an end, Bella excused herself, fabricating an excuse about visiting her recovering uncle. A warm smile from Carl, filled with understanding, warmed her heart. Carl's concept of a united pack, mirroring human society, made him stand out among other alpha leaders. It made Bella realize why he was highly regarded in the werewolf community. It also made her wonder how things had turned out the way they did. Walking away from the restaurant, Bella's heart ached, reminding her of the longing she carried. Seeing Xavier sharing intimate moments with another she-wolf in their special place stirred a mix of emotions within her. As painful as it was, life moved on, and so must she. Embracing this reality, Bella walked into the evening twilight. The bitter chill of the wind mirrored the howling wolf within her. But she accepted the harsh truth. Xavier was no longer a part of her life, but a character in a chapter that was firmly closed. Embracing this reality, she walked away. Away from the restaurant, away from Xavier, Samantha, and the painful memories they evoked. However, if there was any consolation, it was the respect and friendship of an unexpected wolf like Carl. Alpha Xavier leaned against the back seat of the car, his eyes shut as if he were resting. But his mind was far from at ease. It had been 3 long years since the disappearance of Bella Moonshadow, and the sudden re-emergence of her presence in his life was causing nothing but chaos within him. He couldn't help but question where she had been all this time. And to make matters worse, she was now with Alpha Carl Trevor. For the past 3 years, Xavier had believed she was with Alpha Zachary. Everything he thought he knew had been turned upside down. Memories of that fateful day 3 years ago flooded his mind. As he opened the door of their dwelling in the morning, the silence struck him. The house was empty, and the unsettling feeling grew with each passing moment. He ascended the stairs and entered their bedroom, only to find it void of Bella's presence. Xavier initially assumed she had gone out foraging. but 2 hours had passed and she still hadn't returned. Panic began to set in as he reached for his phone and dialed her number. However, her distinct ringtone only echoed from the drawer of the bedside table. It was then that his heart sank. Frantically searching every corner of their castle, Xavier found himself racing from room to room, his anxiety worsening with each empty space. Finally, he returned to the bedroom and rifled through the wardrobe, uncovering the absence of her red suit dress. A wedding gift from George during their bonding ceremony, it had always stayed hidden away. Never worn by Bella, realization struck him as he surveyed the remains of their once neatly hung clothes. The missing dress was a haunting sign, a foreboding message of her departure. Opening the bedside drawer, Xavier discovered Bella's documents untouched. But a sense of foreboding grew as he uncovered 2 pieces of paper on the dressing table. His trembling hands reached for them. And as he read Bella's words, a mix of anger and heartbreak washed over him. The inventory of her jewelry accompanied a cold request to return it to its original owner, along with her wedding ring and the bonding certificate. It felt like a cruel taunt. Her familiar handwriting mocking him, determined, Xavier opened the jewelry boxes. The pieces of love and commitment he had selected for Bella now scattered on the floor. His gaze fell upon the wedding ring, a symbol of their unbreakable bond, now shattered. They had promised to never part, to wear their rings for the rest of their lives. But those vows turned out to be hollow lies. As Xavier's heart bled with grief, it felt as though the pain was more than he could bear. The love they had once shared had crumbled in an instant, leaving behind nothing but anguish and unanswered questions. It seemed as if his heart was oozing blood, the wounds of his shattered dreams too deep to heal. After Bella and Alpha Carl Trevor finished their meal, they headed back to the pack office. Suddenly, Alpha Carl Trevor asked Bella in a serious tone, "Have you decided on the engagement gift for Alpha Xavier?" Bella admitted that she hadn't made a decision yet. "All right. Then you don't have to worry about it. I've taken care of it. Your job is just to deliver it," Alpha Carl Trevor replied. Bella was taken aback by the request. "You want me to deliver it?" she asked. Alpha Carl Trevor left no room for refusal. "Yes, you will do it," he stated firmly. Bella realized that as Alpha Carl's assistant, she didn't have the grounds to decline. Alpha Xavier had become a distant individual in Bella's life. All she had to do was pretend she was delivering a gift to another pack member. It shouldn't have been a big deal. Lucas handed Bella the gift, and she went immediately to Alpha Xavier's company. When she arrived, the receptionist said that a meeting with Alpha Xavier had to be scheduled. After explaining her relation to Alpha Carl Trevor, the receptionist called Alpha Xavier for further instructions. A young she-wolf guided Bella to Alpha Xavier's office. Alpha Xavier was on the phone, but his office door was open. He looked surprised as he saw Bella enter with his secretary. Pausing on the phone call, Alpha Xavier stared at Bella intently. She felt uncomfortable under his gaze. She couldn't stand him, but how could 5 years of memories and emotions disappear overnight? To hide her discomfort, she cleared her throat and respectfully introduced herself. "Alpha Xavier. I am pleased to meet you. I am Bella, the assistant of Alpha Carl Trevor. Alpha Carl has asked me to deliver your engagement gift on his behalf. Please, take a look." Bella placed the gift on Alpha Xavier's desk as she finished speaking. He seemed slightly surprised. Bella wondered why Alpha Carl had chosen her to deliver the gift. Did he know about their past relationship and sent her to irritate Alpha Xavier? Or was there another motive? Alpha Xavier smiled slightly as he surveyed Bella's impassive expression. "I appreciate the effort, Miss Moonshadow. Please take a seat," he offered. He instructed his assistant to fetch some tea for Bella. "There is no need for tea, Alpha. Please inspect the gift so I can return and report back to Alpha Trevor." Bella said, trying to smile, but her eyes lacked warmth. Alpha Xavier rose to his feet and walked towards Bella. His gaze was intense as he said, "Bella Moonshadow, you are quite considerate, aren't you?" His tone was mocking, and Bella felt a punch in the gut. She was trapped now with no way to escape. She steeled herself and moistened her lips. This gift was Alpha Trevor's way of expressing his well wishes for your engagement and future happiness. Alpha Xavier laughed harshly, a pain clenching his heart. He never thought there would come a day when Bella would personally wish him well. It was clear she had moved on. If that was the case, why should he hesitate any longer? "Please extend my gratitude to Alpha Trevor, Miss Moonshadow. Do convey that I highly appreciate the gift he sent. I hope he will grace the engagement party with his presence. I will inform him once I return. Since the gift has been delivered, I should take my leave now, Alpha Xavier," Bella said, eager to escape the tension in the room. But Alpha Xavier stopped her by extending a hand. "Since you are already here, Miss Moonshadow, at least have a spot of tea before leaving. Thank you for the offer, Alpha. But I have pressing matters to attend to." Bella stumbled over her words as she tried to make her way to the exit. Alpha Xavier moved closer, challenging her retreat. With each step she took back, he advanced. Soon, there was no more room for Bella to retreat. Alpha Xavier had her cornered against the wall. She glared at him fiercely, asking, "Alpha Xavier, what do you want?" "Nothing. I simply wish to invite you for a cup of tea," he replied, extending his hand towards her. Bella's anger escalated, and she clenched her fist, ready to punch him. But before she could, the door swung open and a delicate voice echoed, "Alpha Xavier?" Samantha stood speechless, clutching a bag in her hand as she observed the unfolding scene in Alpha Xavier's office. Despite the intense atmosphere, his presence did not make her feel flustered or scared. Turning calmly to face her, he inquired, "Why are you here?" Although his voice was gentle, his gaze was ice-cold. Samantha felt a mix of awe and trepidation. Stammering, she attempted to explain, I came because," caught off guard by the presence of Bella Moonshadow in the office with him. Samantha stumbled over her words. She had assumed that Alpha Xavier was involved with another woman, but Bella was not what she expected. "When did Bella start coming to my office? When did we start dating?" Samantha's mind raced with questions. Observing the shock on her face, Bella's heart filled with scorn, and she swiftly walked out, pushing Alpha Xavier away. Although Bella was not pleased with his treatment of her, she was especially delighted that Samantha had witnessed everything. In the past, Samantha had audaciously interfered in their relationship. Perhaps this was karma coming back around. Alpha Xavier was no saint. If he could betray Bella before, he would surely betray Samantha as well. Eventually, Samantha would experience her fair share of misery. After Bella got back into her car, Alpha Carl Trevor called her. "Has the gift been delivered?" "Yes," Bella replied. "How did Alpha Xavier react?" He seemed quite pleased," Bella blurted out, assuming that Alpha Xavier was feeling embarrassed rather than pleased at that moment. Bella chuckled to herself. In his office, Alpha Xavier calmly took his seat, observing Samantha. He offered no explanation and showed no panic. A chill ran down Samantha's spine. She had always known that she did not hold a special place in his heart. She had blamed Bella for stealing the limelight, thinking that was why Alpha Xavier could not see her virtues. Despite this, Samantha had held on to the idea that there was still room for her in his heart. Now, as she realized he did not feel the need to explain himself, she knew she had been mistaken. Samantha had been a first-hand witness to his ruthlessness towards Bella 3 years ago. If he could be so heartless to someone he had loved so passionately, how could she expect him to be gentle with her? Maintaining her composure, Samantha put on a forced smile and said, My father wants to meet Pamela Green tonight. I couldn't reach you on the phone, so I thought I'd see if you were free. No, I am not free. Alpha Xavier flatly refused. Before Bella's return, he had treated Samantha decently enough. He had been kinder to her in public than he was now. Samantha harbored hatred in her heart, but she continued to ask in a subdued voice. Then when are you free? Busy with an architectural bid lately. We'll discuss it after that, as Samantha closed the door behind her when she left his office. Her genial expression vanished, replaced by a cold and rigid countenance. Watching Samantha leave Alpha Xavier's office, Bella observed as her fake friendly facade morphed into a freezing cold exterior. Her heart held a mixture of satisfaction and lingering pain as she remembered Samantha's interference in her relationship with Alpha Xavier. It felt victorious to witness Samantha's discomfort. Bella remained indifferent and unyielding. Alpha Carl Trevor had called her on her way to the office, inquiring about the gift she had delivered to Alpha Xavier. A thoughtfully planned surprise that she believed would make an impact. Yes, it has been delivered, she replied, hiding a smirk. Samantha was left speechless, and Alpha Xavier, though appearing calm on the surface, was surely not on the inside. And how did Alpha Xavier react? Carl asked curiously. He looked pretty happy. She couldn't help but let out a giggle. Samantha had always declared herself as Alpha Xavier's partner. Her delusions of grandeur had been a constant annoyance. She had always acted as if she were the only woman in his life. Bella's return disrupted that. Seeing Samantha witness her presence in his office felt like karma coming back to haunt her. Bella couldn't help but grin, imagining the guilt and regret Samantha must be experiencing. She was now being treated harshly by Alpha Xavier, just as Bella had been. The irony brought her immense delight, overhearing Samantha's desperate attempts to regain her composure. Bella listened as she brought up an issue involving someone named Pamela and Green's father. Hearing Alpha Xavier bluntly refuse with an, "I am not free," brought a sense of satisfaction to Bella. It was long overdue, and she relished the moment. Next time, Samantha would think twice before interfering in their relationship. After ending her call with Carl, Bella drove away, feeling lighter in her heart than she had in years. She left Samantha in the mess she deserved and Alpha Xavier to deal with his own raw emotions. Bella held her tongue, desperately trying to fix the mess of her clothing to no avail. She wiped the blood from her lips, but it was a futile effort. Defeated, she decided to leave. As she approached Alpha Xavier, his voice dripped with indifference. Remember your place. If you intend to ensnare a man, learn who he truly is first. Don't waste your energy only to end up with nothing. I hope for your sake you make a wise choice. His icy words sent a surge of anger coursing through Bella's veins. She couldn't contain herself any longer, and in a moment of pure fury her hand connected with Xavier's face. Caught off guard by the slap, Xavier made no attempt to dodge the blow. Bella's hand stung from the impact as she swiftly departed, but Xavier, determined, seized her hand, refusing to let go, leaving so easily. He snapped. "Let go!" Bella hissed. Xavier's face, still warm from her slap, twitched with anger. A twinge of guilt mingled with Bella's rage as she realized she had repaid his kindness with violence. Did she think he wouldn't respond? Xavier seemed to possess an inflated sense of self-importance. Disregarding Bella's protests, he drew her closer. Gripping her chin tightly, their eyes locked in a battle of wills, Bella's filled with seething hatred that only served to fuel Xavier's fury. How dare he question her loathing for him? Who was he to challenge her emotions? His grasp on her chin grew more bruising. But Bella bit back the pain, refusing to utter a word. She retaliated by delivering relentless kicks to Xavier's legs, each blow striking with force. Though it clearly pained him, he showed no intention of releasing her. Alpha Carl Trevor, with a sly grin on his face, stumbled toward them, clearly under the influence. Expecting to find Bella in Xavier's grasp, he was taken aback by the sight. Without hesitation, he lunged at Xavier, his rage evident. The punch landed, causing Xavier to wince in pain. But it was Trevor's words that cut the deepest. "How dare you lay hands on what is mine?" Trevor's hit nearly knocked him off balance. Bella reached out to steady him, as both realized the gravity of the situation. They were influential figures, and the exchange of punches should have been enough. However, the torn state of Bella's clothes and the bruises on her body fueled Trevor's assumption that Xavier was responsible. Without a moment's hesitation, he removed his shirt and draped it over Bella's trembling form. Whirling around, he unleashed another punch at Xavier, spouting, "Did you actually strike her? I couldn't even fathom laying a finger on her, and you dare harm her." Xavier retaliated with another punch, and the fight spiraled out of control. Trevor, undeterred by Xavier's higher status, mercilessly threw punch after punch. Xavier refused to back down, and soon they were locked in a vicious battle. The commotion attracted a crowd, and Xavier's second-in-command, Carl, along with Lucas, rushed to the scene. Realizing the chaos, they intervened, forcefully separating the two alphas. Both Trevor and Xavier were hardly recognizable, their faces twisted with resentment. Lucas supported Trevor, concern etched into his features as he inquired, "Alpha Trevor, are you all right?" "I am fine." "What could possibly ail me?" Alpha Carl Trevor sneered. "Alpha Xavier, we shall settle this another time. I promise you, I will seek my vengeance. I'll be more than willing to oblige." Alpha Xavier replied, unbothered. Though Trevor claimed to be unharmed, Bella knew the truth of what occurred. Trevor had clearly been at a disadvantage in the fight against Xavier, most likely due to his drunken state. Bella couldn't fathom why she had previously disliked Trevor so intensely. But in that moment, as he took off his shirt to protect her, she found herself warming to his presence. Alpha Xavier sat alone in a secluded corner, his face wrought with bitterness. His mouth throbbed from the injury. Fingerprints marred his once proud visage, leaving him with a sense of humiliation. Carl had ordered someone to gather herbs for Xavier's wounds. "Alpha Xavier, it may sting a bit, but endure it for a while. That is but a small wound." Alpha Xavier seethed through gritted teeth. Compared to the anguish in his heart, the injury meant nothing to him. Recalling how Bella clung to Trevor as they departed, Xavier couldn't help but curse. That treacherous she-wolf. How dare she seek solace in that male, accursed cheaters. In that instance moments ago, Alpha Trevor misinterpreted the situation. "He thought you were tormenting Bella," explained Carl. "Bella? Who is this Bella, Alpha?" Xavier roared, frustration lacing his voice. "That she-wolf and I severed all ties long ago. I have no knowledge of this Bella. My apologies. It was an oversight on my part." Xavier's beta quickly corrected himself and added, "Bella Moonshadow's lips were bleeding at the corner. Alpha Walton showed no mercy. That bastard, how dare he cause a ruckus in my territory? Just wait until I deal with him." Alpha Xavier's anger flared, his mind swimming with thoughts of the bloodstains on Bella's lips. He had arrived too late to prevent the altercation. And, as much as Xavier hated to admit it, he agreed with Trevor about one thing tonight. He couldn't bear the thought of touching Bella himself, so how dare Alpha Walton mistreat her? A chilling coldness flickered in Xavier's eyes. Find the right moment and order someone to break his damn legs. Crush his filthy claws too. Yes. Alpha Xavier, his beta replied. He couldn't help but feel pity for Alpha Walton. If Walton knew that one slap would result in such dire consequences, he would never have dared to raise his hand. regardless of the circumstances. On their way back, she disclosed everything to Alpha Carl Trevor, and he finally grasped the truth. It turned out that he had misunderstood Alpha Xavier, and it was someone else who had bullied her. Bella, you acted without clarifying events first. Alpha Xavier is an influential figure in the South. We may encounter him frequently in the future. It is not wise to offend him, Lucas disapproved. Alpha Carl Trevor disagreed. I don't think highly of Alpha Xavier. If I see him again, I will still confront him. Lucas understood Alpha Carl Trevor's stubborn character. Once he made up his mind, he couldn't be persuaded. So, Lucas gave up trying to convince him. After safely escorting Bella back home, Alpha Carl Trevor and Lucas left. Along the way, Alpha Trevor instructed Lucas, find a few of our pack members and teach Alpha Walton a lesson. Alpha Trevor. Alpha Walton is the son of Alpha Harrison. Since we need something from Alpha Harrison, shouldn't we proceed with caution? Lucas questioned, are you afraid that Alpha Harrison would use his power to retaliate? Alpha Carl Trevor sneered. Let me tell you, after observing Alpha Walton tonight, I can tell he is a cunning wolf. He won't support us at all. Even if he doesn't support us, we still can't offend him. After all, he holds a position in the South Pack. We will have to interact with him in many future dealings. Do you still not understand who I am? Alpha Trevor asked, causing Lucas to fall silent immediately. Having been with Alpha Carl Trevor, known for his bad boy reputation, for 3 years, Lucas knew his Alpha better than anyone. As a sign of respect, send Alpha Harrison an extravagant gift right away. I enjoy dealing with troublesome people. Since I am taking care of his beta, I naturally won't allow this Alpha to stand in my way. Witnessing Alpha Carl Trevor's cold expression, Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. Alpha Walton and his leader were in deep trouble this time. Bella went to the pack infirmary, where her Uncle George was taken aback when he saw the bruise at the corner of her mouth. What happened? It is nothing. I just accidentally bumped into something. Bella forced a smile. Uncle George, how are you feeling today? I am feeling better now. The infirmary is expensive, you know. The doctor says my recovery is progressing well. I would like to continue my healing at our pack home tomorrow. George worried about the cost of the infirmary, which deeply saddened Bella. No, we won't be discharged yet. Let's stay a few more days. When you are fully recovered, we'll go home. But, Bella, I feel fine, Uncle. Don't worry about the cost. I have money. Alpha Carl Trevor pays me a generous salary. That is true, Alpha Trevor treats you well. But Bella, apart from me, since I am your responsibility now, you have a pup to take care of. Little Leo is growing day by day. You can't always leave him with Alpha Zachary, right? Your pup needs maternal love too. Hearing her pup's name, Leo, Bella's face fell. Indeed. She still had a pup to take care of. She couldn't leave her pup with Alpha Zachary forever, could she? Exhaling softly, she forced a smile and replied, Don't worry, Uncle. When you are better, and I've earned more money, I'll bring him home. We might even decide to leave the South Pack and move to another pack. Thinking about Leo filled Bella with guilt. She realized she hadn't spoken to him in days. Immediately she pulled out her phone and called him. As soon as the call connected, she heard Leo's childish voice. Mama, Leo. What are you doing? I am eating with Uncle Zach. Mama, I miss you. I miss you too, little wolf. I've been a good boy. I didn't bother Uncle Zach while he was working. I just miss you, Mama. Have you found my dad also? Mama, when will you come to get me? I haven't found him yet. I'll come get you after a while, okay? Right now, your great uncle is sick, and once he gets better, I'll come to get you. Is that okay? Okay, Mama. Uncle Zach misses you too. After Leo's voice faded, Zach's voice came through. Bella, your uncle is sick. When did that happen? A little while ago. He had an operation, but is recovering well now. Why didn't you tell me? Zach's voice carried a hint of complaint. I thought you were busy. He is okay now. Don't worry, that is good news. Do you need money? I'll transfer it to you. No need. I have money. And Alpha Trevor? Is he treating you well? Zach asked again. Alpha Trevor has been very kind to me. Alpha Trevor just has a bad temper. He is a good person, you'll see in the future. Yeah. I know. Don't stress too much about work, Alpha Zachary advised. If it becomes overwhelming, come back. My door is always open for you. I know. Bella sighed deeply. Alpha Zachary, what is wrong? She was about to tell Alpha Zachary about Alpha Xavier, but after contemplating for a while, she decided not to say anything. Nothing much, just thank you for your everything. It is nothing. You know I am willing to do anything for you, he said sincerely. His voice was deep and husky. A bitter smile crept onto Bella's face. She was fated to owe Alpha Zachary a lot in this lifetime. The next morning, Bella went to the office with a bruised face, and so did Alpha Carl Trevor. They looked at each other and burst out laughing, instantly lightening the atmosphere. During lunch, Alpha Carl took Bella to a nearby restaurant that served Thai food. Bella wondered why, as she knew Alpha Carl disliked Thai food. They sat down at a table when a scornful voice interrupted the silence. Seems like I've been riding a wave of luck lately. They turned and saw Alpha Walton with two men who seemed to stare them down. Alpha Carl, being new to the pack's territory, recognized Alpha Walton and retorted. You are right. A devil's spawn does have a devil's luck. Alpha Walton commanded his two thugs to teach Alpha Carl a lesson. The thugs underestimated Alpha Carl and were easily defeated within minutes. After dealing with the thugs, Alpha Carl confronted Alpha Walton directly. Walton, taken aback, threatened him with his family's high-ranking status in the council. Alpha Carl responded with more punches and kicks, leaving Walton's face black and blue. The waiter called the pack guards, and they arrived swiftly. All parties were taken to the pack's communal meeting place to resolve the dispute. Alpha Carl remained composed throughout the process, while Alpha Walton continued his arrogant behavior. He vowed revenge and made threats. News of the brawl and subsequent gathering reached Alpha Xavier through Alpha Carl. Xavier was bewildered and suspicious of Carl's actions. He instructed his pack to keep a close watch. Alpha Harrison rushed to the pack meeting place upon hearing about his son's beating. He was dismayed to learn that Alpha Carl was responsible for it. Surprisingly, Alpha Carl switched his demeanor and apologized, seemingly eager to make amends. Walton found it pleasing and planned to take advantage of Carl's submissive behavior. Lucas, Carl's deputy, arrived that evening to apologize on Carl's behalf. He brought several boxes filled with cash, knowing Walton's affinity for money. Despite the gesture, Walton had no intention of helping with the alliance and kept the money. In the third-person point of view, seeing the bruise on Bella's cheek, Craig was taken aback. He had heard about the fight between Alpha Carl and Alpha Walton earlier in the day. At that time, he had wondered why Alpha Carl had provoked Alpha Walton. Now, seeing the bruise on Bella's face, he understood that Alpha Walton's son had hurt her, and Alpha Carl had retaliated. His heart filled with rage. Bella, Alpha Walton will pay for this, Craig stated. She glanced at him coldly, replying, Craig, my affairs have nothing to do with you. You shouldn't waste your time. Go back and spend it with your mate and daughter. Craig, what I want to say does involve Alpha Carl. In front of her, Craig did not flaunt any authority as a beta. Hearing him mention Alpha Carl, Bella's expression softened slightly. There was a cafe nearby, so Craig and Bella decided to talk there. He told her very directly that he could help Alpha Carl's pack in the territorial dispute. Sitting in silence as Eleanor, Xavier's mother advised him. Xavier, Samantha is a kind and well-behaved girl. Given that she has endured so much for you, you should marry her. After all, she is Beta Craig Turner's daughter. There is no harm in uniting with her. He didn't respond. Eleanor had become accustomed to his silence, ever since she threatened him with her life and forced him to drive Bella Moonshadow away. He had spoken less and less with her. There were times when he wouldn't utter a single word for the entire day. Son, I've already informed Samantha that you will accompany her to choose an engagement outfit and ring tomorrow. You should put off the pack issues for tomorrow, she added. Mom, do you like Samantha because she is kind and well-behaved, or because she is Beta Craig Turner's daughter? Xavier suddenly asked. Of course it is because Samantha is kind and well-behaved, Eleanor replied. Then that is good. You've chosen her by yourself this time. I hope you can treat her well. Don't repeat the same mistakes from before. After saying this, Xavier turned around and headed upstairs. Watching him walk away, Eleanor opened her mouth, but no words came out. Why did his statement sound so strange to her? What did she choose? Wasn't he deeply in love with Samantha? Otherwise, why would he let Samantha be pregnant with his child? He closed his room door and collapsed on his bed in exhaustion. After his duties today, he found himself unconsciously driving to Bella Moonshadow's place again. By coincidence, he saw Beta Craig Turner and Bella leaving a cafe together. Why would Bella be hanging out with Beta Craig Turner? He wondered. Craig knew what happened between Bella and him. Soon he'll be engaged to Craig's daughter, Samantha. But Beta Craig Turner was spending time with Bella. What was happening? Lost in his thoughts, he saw Craig pat Bella's head and even hold her hand for a short while. Bella was a bit resistant. She flung off his hand and left without a backward glance. Craig just stood there until Bella was out of sight. Then he got into his car and drove away. What Xavier saw today raised doubts in him. Lying on his bed, he was restless. He couldn't fall asleep until the early morning. He overslept and was only awakened by a knock on the door. Eleanor called from outside. Xavier, Samantha is here. Why is Samantha here? He rubbed his eyes as he sat up. Only then did he remember what Eleanor had said last night. Samantha was here for him to accompany her to choose her engagement dress and ring. He slowly got up, washed up, and then went downstairs. Samantha didn't seem to be the slightest bit nervous. She had been chatting with Eleanor with a smile on her face. Witnessing this harmonious scene made his heart sigh as he walked down the stairs. Xavier. Samantha turned around with a smile when she saw him. Did you sleep well? Let's go. He headed towards the door. Samantha said her goodbyes to Eleanor before trotting along to catch up with him. First, Samantha and Xavier went to the boutique. She tried on several dresses while he, feeling a tad bored, stepped outside for some fresh air. Suddenly, a car pulled up to the store and Layla, along with Bella Moonshadow, got out and walked into the boutique. There was a dinner event at the television station tomorrow, and Layla had to attend in a dress. She brought Bella along for advice. Bella, do you think this dress is nice? Layla asked, pointing at an off-shoulder dress. Layla, being petite, would look better in an empire waistline dress that accentuates her figure, so Bella pointed at a short dress and asked her to try it on. While this was happening, Samantha came out of the changing room, excited to show Xavier the gown she'd chosen, but she didn't anticipate a face-to-face meeting with Bella and Layla. Chapter 26. Bella reluctantly made her way to Alpha Xavier's company. her heart heavy with guilt. However, she was stopped by a different receptionist at the front desk. This receptionist was someone Bella recognized from 3 years ago when she visited Alpha Xavier's pack office in City A, surprised that this receptionist had been brought along to the South City. Bella reminisced about how this woman had always been helpful and kind during her previous visits. But now she addressed Bella with an indifferent tone. Trying to keep her emotions in check, Bella stated calmly, "I would like to see Alpha Xavier. Do you have an appointment?" "You cannot see Alpha Xavier without one," the receptionist replied coldly, ignoring her. Bella tried to bypass the receptionist and head straight to the elevator. The receptionist gestured to the security guards, who moved forward to stop her. Realizing she couldn't force her way in, Bella resigned herself to waiting on a sofa in the lobby. She hoped that Alpha Xavier would not hide away in his office forever. Hours passed, and Bella waited in the lobby until the office closed for the day. Still, there was no sign of Alpha Xavier. The receptionist began packing up, ready to leave. Unable to contain her curiosity, she informed Bella Alpha Xavier left through the underground parking lot a while ago. Fury engulfed Bella, nearly causing her to curse in frustration. Taking pity on her, the receptionist divulged more information. Alpha Xavier is expected to be at the Howling Moon Club tonight to meet with his friends. Bella didn't care how the receptionist knew Xavier's schedule. She thanked her and left the company, determined to confront Alpha Xavier about their situation. As Bella left, one of the security guards approached the receptionist and tried to strike up a conversation. "Miss Stafford, what were you trying to do? Why did you stop that woman? Mind your own business," the receptionist snapped irritably, understanding now why she had been asked to be on duty. Besides her and Mark, there should be no one in the Alpha Circle who knew Bella. But what does this mean? Didn't Alpha Xavier want to avoid meeting her? Now he wants her to know about his whereabouts. Miss Stafford pondered. After leaving the company, Bella found a ride and headed to the Howling Moon Club. Upon discovering that Alpha Xavier was in a private room on the upper level, she gathered her courage and pushed open the door. Inside, she was greeted with an unexpected sight. Men lounged in the private room, each accompanied by beautiful women. Bella's attention was drawn to Alpha Xavier, who sat at the center surrounded by 2 women. One of the women whispered sweet words into his ear, and there was a smile on his face that made Bella roll her eyes. This was the charm of alpha males. She thought bitterly. 3 years ago she had been naive to their tactics, believing that Xavier was dedicated to his duties. Now she saw through his deception. A cold smile played on her lips as she raised her voice and called out, "Alpha Xavier!" Her sudden outburst caught everyone's attention. Xavier raised an eyebrow, portraying an impatient expression, but he remained seated. One man, holding a beautiful woman next to Xavier, teased, "Alpha Xavier, don't you have enough with one on each arm? Now you have another one coming after you. We're so envious." Xavier responded with a faint smile. "Do you really think my taste is that poor? Since she is here already, just go and have a look." Another man chimed in jest. Finally, Alpha Xavier stood up and walked towards Bella. As he reached her side, a man behind him chuckled. "If you don't like her, give her to me." From a third-person point of view, as Bella left the Alpha's establishment, a security guard approached the receptionist to inquire about her actions. Annoyed, the receptionist snapped at him, refusing to answer his question. It suddenly dawned on her why Alpha Xavier had assigned her to her current duty 7, to prevent anyone, except for herself and Mark, from having any knowledge of Bella. After hailing a cab, Bella arrived at the Howling Moon. Determined, she pushed open the door to a private room on the 2nd floor, where she discovered Xavier surrounded by beautiful women. One of them was whispering in his ear, while he wore a content smile. Bella couldn't help but roll her eyes in disbelief. She had once believed Xavier's commitment to his duties and had been ignorant of the charm of alpha males. But now, 3 years later, she saw that he had deceived her perfectly. With a cold smile, Bella raised her voice and called out, "Alpha Xavier." The entire room turned their attention to her. Xavier raised an eyebrow, displaying impatience, but he remained unmoved. One of the men sitting next to Xavier teased, "Alpha Xavier, don't you already have a woman on each arm? Now, you have one more desperate for your attention. We envy you." Xavier responded with a faint smile, saying, "Would I have such poor taste?" His indifferent reply fueled Bella's anger. She raised her hand to slap him, but he swiftly caught her hand. The men in the room laughed and called her a spicy wildcat. Xavier closed the door, firmly grasped Bella's hand, and led her to a private room next door. "What do you want?" he asked, releasing her hand in a cold, icy tone. In a hostile manner, Bella glared at him and demanded, "Did you do that to Layla?" Ignoring her hostility, Xavier casually sat on a sofa, crossed his legs, and lit a cigarette. "Who is Layla?" he asked, his voice still cold. Bella was surprised to see him smoking, as she had expressed her dislike for the smell of cigarettes on men before. He had claimed not to be interested in smoking. Watching Xavier's skilled posture and the smoke rings he blew, Bella realized how little she truly knew about this alpha wolf. "Alpha Xavier, are you pretending to have amnesia? Don't you remember who Layla is?" she shouted angrily, convinced that he was intentionally feigning ignorance. For Bella, it was clear that he was responsible for what happened to Layla. "You despicable, shameless creature." Despicable? Xavier's beautiful eyes darkened with anger as Bella used those words to describe him. In her mind, Bella imagined him thinking, "Darn this woman," he sneered. "Miss Moonshadow, a truly capable person wouldn't waste time with useless words. If I were you, I wouldn't be here humiliating myself." His words confirmed Bella's suspicions that Xavier was indeed behind Layla's suffering. Rage coursed through her veins. She never expected Xavier to stoop so low. Regaining control of her trembling hands, Bella asked, "Alpha Xavier, what do you want?" "What do I want?" he replied, blowing out a smoke ring. "Don't you already know?" He was defending Samantha. Bella bit her lip and apologized on behalf of Layla, hoping he would show mercy this time. "It is too late," he replied nonchalantly, his tone still icy. "Miss Moonshadow, everything has a time limit. I gave you a chance. You?" Bella stared at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Are you wondering why I am so heartless?" Alpha Xavier chuckled, adding insult to injury. "Bella Moonshadow, go back and look at yourself in the mirror. See what kind of person you are. Why should I, Alpha Xavier, happily comply with your request?" Taken aback, Bella stepped back, looking at Xavier's indifferent face. A bitter smile formed on her lips. She had been foolish to think that he would comply with her wishes. She recalled his ruthless nature, how he had claimed to love her but had betrayed her by having an affair, impregnating the other woman, and allowing her to provoke Bella. When the truth came to light, he didn't bother explaining and simply instructed a lawyer to send her divorce papers, leaving her with nothing. Who could match the heartlessness of Alpha Xavier? Bella realized how naive she had been to hope that he would comply with her request. She gazed at the man on the sofa, contemplating her next move. "Alpha Xavier, you are right. I was wrong. Given my status, I shouldn't have come to you. Thank you for helping me see things clearly. Don't worry, from now on, I, Bella Moonshadow, will never beg you for anything, even if it costs me my life." Bella shouted her last sentence, paying no attention to Xavier's reaction. After uttering those words, she opened the door and swiftly left the wolf den. As she made her way out, tears welled up in her eyes due to the chilly night air. The door to the private room slammed shut. Xavier listened to the fading sound of hurried footsteps outside, stood up abruptly, but then sank back onto the sofa, feeling powerless. Alpha Xavier crushed the cigarette in his hand and threw it into the trash can as he leaned back and rubbed his temples. Feeling extremely annoyed, he had never been so irritated before. But he couldn't help treating her that way, especially when she confronted him with such an attitude. He couldn't understand why he couldn't control himself or what was wrong with him. He knew that his words would only make her hate him more, but he couldn't stop himself from saying them. This is insane. He laughed bitterly, his heart filled with an indescribable sense of loneliness and discomfort. That night, Bella tossed and turned in bed before finally falling asleep. Exhausted, she overslept and was woken up by a call from Alpha Carl Trevor. Surprised to hear her groggy voice, he exclaimed, "Bella Moonshadow, are you still in bed?" "Sorry. I overslept," Bella apologized. "You are impossible." Alpha Carl Trevor sighed, placing a hand on his forehead. "Get up quickly. I'll come pick you up." In a rush, Bella got ready, skipping makeup and running out of her apartment. Downstairs, Alpha Carl Trevor's car pulled up beside her. Opening the car door for her, he said, "Get in the car. I am sorry again." "Alpha Carl Trevor," Bella apologized once more. "Since you are not wearing your glasses today, I'll forgive you." Alpha Carl Trevor smiled at her. He couldn't help but appreciate her natural beauty without makeup. "You really are beautiful. And it brings joy to people's hearts." "Thank you, Alpha Carl Trevor." "Where are we going?" Bella asked. "To the council hall," he replied. Bella understood that Alpha Carl Trevor was determined to secure the urban construction project this time. They were headed to the council hall for matters related to the bidding. Recalling what Beta Craig Turner had told her the previous night, she wondered if her request for his help would ensure that the project fell into the werewolf's hands. But, as she contemplated this, Alpha Carl Trevor took out a bag and handed it to her. "You haven't had breakfast, have you? I bought you something to eat." Surprised, Bella exclaimed, "You bought breakfast for me." She couldn't believe that the elite alpha who was used to being served would care for her, just a member of the pack. "Why are you so surprised? Can't I buy an extra set while I was having breakfast?" Alpha Carl Trevor replied, "Thank you, Alpha Carl Trevor." Bella expressed her gratitude. Feeling hungry, she immediately opened the bag and started eating. Observing her from the rearview mirror, Alpha Carl Trevor's eyes sparkled. She wasn't just beautiful, but even while eating there was something captivating about her. If he didn't believe in the saying that good things come to those who wait, he might have let his emotions overflow in that moment. Suppressing the fluttering in his heart, he reminded himself, "This matter requires patience. It can't be rushed." Chapter 27. Bella watched as the limo came to a stop outside the Pack Council building. Alpha Carl Trevor emerged from the car, guiding her inside the imposing structure. As they made their way to the conference hall, Bella noticed Alpha Xavier, accompanied by his assistant Mark, waiting for them. Alpha Xavier, dressed in a suit, exuded a powerful aura. Other pack representatives and their deputies were also present for the bid. Alpha Carl took a seat, and Bella stood behind him observing the assistance of the other alphas. Unexpectedly, Alpha Carl pulled her gently to stand next to him. Alpha Xavier's gaze grew dark at this gesture. Sensing the tension, Alpha Carl murmured, "Seems like Alpha Xavier harbors some hostility towards me." Bella glanced casually at Alpha Xavier, who was staring intensely at her. She looked away dismissively and replied, "I've never met him before. That is strange. Could it be because of our previous conflict? Although Alpha Xavier doesn't seem to hold grudges." Alpha Carl pondered. It is hard to say. Let's stay on guard. Bella played along. Indeed. I'll be cautious. But for now, let's focus on the territory redevelopment project, Alpha Carl said with a determined smirk. Alpha Xavier has the backing of the chief advisor, so we might encounter some obstacles this time. Nothing is certain. With a strong proposal, we can still compete, Bella said optimistically. Beta Craig Turner had assured her that he would judge fairly. The approval of the redevelopment project should be based on skills and ideas, not favoritism. I share your optimism. If the chief advisor shows any bias, he will regret it, Alpha Carl said with a smile, his words carrying a hint of menace. Bella was used to seeing him playful and carefree, so his seriousness took her aback. Just then, Lucas entered the room, carrying a briefcase. Alpha Carl motioned for Bella to wait in the car. Wait for me there. I'll join you after the council meeting. And remember, don't wander off. His words were not spoken softly, causing chuckles from those around them. Alpha Trevor, you never hesitate to bring a female companion to your meetings, do you? Someone teased. It helps to have both genders working together to smoothen the process. Don't you think, Alpha Carl? Replied with a laugh. Ha. Alpha Trevor, are you planning to work out after the meeting? Another person joked. Of course. Alpha Carl responded, winking at Bella. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted the conversation as Alpha Xavier's drink slipped from his hand and spilled. His expression turned cold, startling everyone present. Sensing Alpha Xavier's hostility, an awkward silence fell over the crowd. Deciding to wait outside, Bella found solace in the small garden of the building. However, as the meeting dragged on, she decided to wait in the car. As she stepped out, she collided with someone she would rather avoid. Samantha, dressed extravagantly, had just gotten out of her car. Her expression noticeably stiffened upon seeing Bella. What are you doing here? She asked, her tone dripping with hostility. Bella smirked in response, uninterested in Samantha's antics. Samantha grew antsy at her indifference. Are you here to see Dad? Why are you seeking him now? Is there a problem with that? Bella retorted. Is there a problem with you? Didn't you cut ties with Dad as his daughter? Why the sudden regret? Samantha shot back. Regret. Bella was momentarily taken aback, but quickly regained her composure. Yes, I do regret now. What do you want? Don't tell me you want to return to the Turner family. Bella Moonshadow, can't you be more shameless? You are the one who wanted to sever ties? What is the point of regretting now? Bella knew exactly what Samantha was thinking. Samantha was afraid that Bella's return to Beta Craig's side would ruin her relationship with Alpha Xavier. Seeing Samantha's fear, Bella decided to provoke her further. She smiled playfully and said, I am the legitimate daughter of Beta Craig. You are just a daughter of the mistress. If I return to the Turner family and reveal your mother's status and your illegitimate identity, what do you think will happen? Are you crazy? This will ruin Dad's reputation, Samantha exclaimed, panic evident on her face. Bella Moonshadow, you can't do this. Sneering at Samantha's despicable face, Bella said. Since you know I can't do that, why did you come here to provoke me? Samantha's face paled. She had been too hasty. Seeing Bella Moonshadow, at the Pack Council building had inexplicably worried her and irritated her. I am telling you, Samantha, I am not easy to bully. I don't desire the luxurious life that you and your mother want. Without Beta Craig Turner, I would still be Bella Moonshadow. But for parasites like you, it is different. Both of you are nothing without Beta Craig Turner. So, you better not provoke me. I am warning you, If you approach me and make me unhappy like this again, I won't hesitate to let you and your mother make headlines. Samantha's hatred towards Bella grew as she listened to her cruel words. She wanted to retaliate but dared not. Suddenly, she spotted someone familiar approaching, wearing a pitiful expression and sounding frightened. Samantha said, "Sorry. I am sorry, Miss Moonshadow. I will avoid you next time. Please don't tell anyone about my previous pregnancy, I beg you." Samantha's expression changed quickly. Bella hadn't fully processed what was happening when she sensed a familiar presence behind her. Placing a hand on her forehead, she heard the cold voice of the man say, "Bella Moonshadow, what are you planning to do?" As Samantha's expression swiftly changed, Bella struggled to process what was happening. The scent of someone familiar drew closer, and without even needing to turn around, she knew who it was. She placed a hand on her forehead as a chilling voice spoke. "Bella Moonshadow, what are you planning to do, Alpha Xavier?" Samantha threw herself at him, acting weak and helpless. Bella let out a bitter laugh and decided to walk away. But Alpha Xavier was not about to let her off the hook so easily. He helped Samantha, who seemed to have lost all her strength, to stand up straight and said softly, "Wait over there. I need to talk to her." Reluctantly, Samantha obeyed and walked away, visibly disappointed. Alpha Xavier looked at Bella, but she refused to meet his eyes. "Bella Moonshadow, you never seem to learn, do you?" Ignoring him, Bella started walking towards her car, but her dismissive attitude only infuriated Alpha Xavier, and he stepped forward to block her path. "Don't forget that your friend Layla is still under training. If you provoke me, I can make her lose her job." "Alpha Xavier, what do you want?" Layla was Bella's one vulnerability, causing her to stop in her tracks. "Next time, stay away from Samantha. And didn't you say you were going to apologize to her? Well, now seems like a good time. If you are sincere, maybe I'll go easier on Layla." His words made Bella raise her gaze to meet his. Their eyes locked, and Alpha Xavier's cold stare sent shivers down her spine. She fought back tears as her lips twitched, and she retorted, "How do you want me to apologize? Do you expect me to kneel?" "No need to kneel. Just give Samantha the same warning you gave her before Bisibin. Tell her to stay away from you. You should be the one avoiding her, not the other way around." Alpha Xavier's voice and expression remained cold and heartless. Bella looked at him, the man she had loved deeply for 5 years, and held back the tears welling up in her eyes. "Fine, Alpha Xavier, I'll apologize. But after I do, will you leave Layla alone? I want a direct answer. That depends on how sincere your apology is. If it is not genuine," it was as if he was implying that even if she apologized, he would still find fault in her sincerity. Xavier didn't seem to want to let her off the hook at all. Whatever she did would be meaningless in his eyes. Understanding this, Bella turned around once more. Behind her, she heard Alpha Xavier say in a chilling tone, "Bella Moonshadow, this is your last chance. If you are giving up on this, be prepared to face the consequences." Without hesitation, Bella continued walking towards Alpha Carl Trevor's car. As soon as she got in, tears streamed down her face. She despised herself for feeling this way. She knew Xavier was heartless, yet she couldn't help but feel heartbroken by his coldness. Xavier's gaze followed her, and his heart ached as he watched her close the car door. He didn't want to be so cruel, but the image of her under Alpha Carl Trevor haunted him. Fueling his bitterness, he couldn't let her have peace. "This is what you owe me, Bella Moonshadow. If I am not happy, you shouldn't be either," Xavier thought to himself, turning away with an emotionless expression. He saw Samantha standing not too far away, looking at him with pity in her eyes. Suppressing his frustration, Alpha Xavier walked towards her. Chapter 28. Beta Craig returned home in the evening to find Pamela and their daughter, Samantha, waiting for him with smiles on their faces. "You are back!" Pamela exclaimed with relief. He nodded and settled down on the sofa. Pamela turned to Samantha and said, "Samantha, why don't you make some tea for your father?" As Samantha went to the kitchen, Pamela sat down beside him. "Craig, I heard that Bella is back." He nodded briefly. "Yes, Bella is back." Pamela seemed surprised by his response, realizing that he had already seen Bella. She was concerned about Bella's sudden return after years of disappearing. It wasn't going to be easy, he thought to himself. Pamela then asked tentatively, "Why didn't you bring her home?" "The poor girl has been through so much. We should take care of her." "It is not the right time," he replied with a sigh. "Bella still resents me deeply. She won't forgive me." Pamela's worry showed on her face. "We did what we thought was best for Bella. Who would have expected things to turn out this way?" "Craig, why don't we talk to Bella and explain everything to her in person?" "Bella is stubborn. I am afraid it won't make a difference if we try to explain," he said. Pamela let out a relieved sigh, implying that Bella had no intention of forgiving him. "Then what should we do?" "I am worried about her being all alone." "We have to take it slow," he replied. "Pamela, if Bella is willing to come back, you have to treat her well. Even if she gives you a hard time, you have to endure it." "I understand. Don't worry, I know what I need to do." "And Samantha," he turned to their daughter, "you need to treat Bella better too. If she is angry, let her vent. If she wants something, don't fight with her over it." "Yes, Dad," Samantha obediently agreed. Pamela glanced at Samantha before focusing her gaze back on him. "What about Samantha and Alpha Xavier's engagement ceremony?" "I'll talk to Mrs. Xavier about it," he reassured her. Pamela sighed with relief. "I am just worried that Bella will feel uncomfortable. Despite our intentions, Samantha is now with Alpha Xavier." "It is not Samantha's fault, it is mine," he interrupted. "I'll explain everything to Bella in the future. For now, just remember not to provoke her. Don't worry. Samantha and I will never provoke Bella." He was pleased with Pamela's assurance. "In addition to not provoking her, there is one more thing I need to make clear. After Samantha and Alpha Xavier get married, I will give all my property to Bella as compensation. I didn't marry you for your properties." "Samantha will never fight with Bella over them," Pamela readily agreed. Compared to the Xavier family's wealth, their possessions were insignificant. Only someone like Bella would give up Alpha Xavier for them. "Dad, I only want Alpha Xavier. I don't want anything else." Samantha chimed in, expressing her thoughts. He was grateful for the understanding and support from his wife and daughter. "I am sorry for asking so much from both of you." Chapter 29. Bella was feeling distressed due to the events of the day. Alpha Carl Trevor, seeing her distraught expression, assumed she was unwell and advised her to rest. However, Bella couldn't find peace of mind and decided to return to the infirmary. There, she found George packing his things, determined to be discharged. Giving in to her uncle's wishes, Bella reluctantly requested her own discharge and completed the necessary procedures. Once she arrived home with her uncle, they went to the local market to buy ingredients for a healing meal. Bella was determined to cook for her uncle and help him recover. Just as Bella finished making the soup, her phone buzzed. She answered and immediately recognized Alpha Zachary's voice on the other end. He informed her that Leo was running a fever. "Worried?" Bella asked. "Is it serious?" Knowing that Alpha Zachary wouldn't have called her if it was a minor fever. "A bit. If you can, please come and check on him," Alpha Zachary expressed his concern. "I understand." Bella's inner turmoil vanished with the phone call, her worries solely focused on Leo. She quickly packed her bag and rushed to the airport. Throughout the long flight, her anxiety for Leo continued to weigh on her. When she finally arrived at her destination, Alpha Zachary met her personally. Together they hurried to the infirmary. Leo lay in his hospital bed, unconscious and burning with fever. Overwhelmed by emotions, Bella choked on her tears and asked, "What exactly is happening?" Leo has been refusing to eat properly for the past few days. He suddenly developed a fever 2 days ago, and the fever reducer didn't work. The healer couldn't determine the cause. "Worried I called you over," Alpha Zachary explained, feeling distraught. Bella held Leo's hand tightly and cried, blaming herself for his condition. Suddenly, Leo, who lay fevered and unconscious, opened his eyes upon spotting his mother. He greeted her with a grin, questioning, "Mummy, am I dreaming?" "No, it is real. Mummy is here to see you," Bella assured him. Leo seemed to calm down in his mother's presence, and miraculously, his fever started to drop. Alpha Zachary, witnessing the scene, felt a sense of embarrassment. "If I knew he would calm down like that, I wouldn't have bothered you to come." Curling comfortably into his mother's arms, Leo asked, "Mummy, are we going back to our pack soon?" "Very soon," Bella reassured him. "Have we found Daddy?" Leo's innocent eyes gleamed with curiosity. "Not yet, sweetheart, but I promise we will find him soon." "Mummy, we shouldn't hurry. I want to help you look for Daddy." Bella hugged Leo even tighter and nodded. "We will definitely settle everything soon, and then we can go back to our pack." During their conversation, Alpha Zachary sighed and offered, "Bella, if it becomes too hard for you out there, you can always come back to this pack. I am willing to support both of you." "Zachary, I cannot be indebted to you like that. Can you understand? I am doing all of this willingly, not because of any obligation." "Zachary, there must be a woman out there who deserves your affection." Bella's words left Alpha Zachary silent. After a moment, he sighed deeply and spoke, "Bella, just remember that if you get tired out there, you are always welcome back here. I'll be waiting for you at our usual spot." Bella stayed with Leo for another 10 days. When she returned to the South Pack, she was shocked by the significant changes that had occurred in her absence. One particular scandal caught her attention. Alpha Walton, the son of Parliament member Ewan Walton, had been exposed for his drug issues. News reporters had accompanied the police to his location, where they discovered a disturbing scene of Alpha Walton in a drugged state, self-inflicted injuries, and blood-splattered surroundings. He was immediately rushed to the hospital. Alpha Xavier reflected on the turn of events as the bidding for the urban construction project commenced. Instead of attending the auction himself, he had entrusted a manager to represent him, confident in his ability to secure the bid. Meanwhile, his rival, Carl Trevor, took charge of his team and personally led them into the bidding process. The bidding process unfolded in a fair and transparent manner, with multiple stages of screening narrowing down the contenders to Xavier Enterprises and Trevor's team reaching the final phase. Specialist reviewers conducted thorough research and evaluation, assessing the 2 bidding proposals. To their surprise, the results came out as equal. This outcome came as a shock to Alpha. Had it been anyone other than Carl leading the team, he might have approached the situation with more caution. However, due to his dismissive attitude towards Carl, considering him nothing more than a playboy with no significant skills, Alpha had underestimated him from the start. Alpha's connections and vast resources further contributed to his negligence towards Carl. But now, his underestimation seemed to have backfired. Carl's ability to lead the team and present a high-quality bidding proposal showcased his competence. However, Alpha still harbored hopes of winning. The proposals being equally meritorious meant that the final decision would rest with the decision-maker. As long as Craig, the ultimate arbiter, displayed even a hint of bias, Alpha believed victory would be within his grasp. "This has been a wake-up call for me. I cannot afford to underestimate this playboy any further, Alpha resolved within himself. Meanwhile, Bella Moonshadow's journey in the reality show she participated in had officially begun. Alpha managed to convince the television station to reinstate Layla, Bella's previous stylist, to her former role. Layla fully immersed herself in the recordings, determined to enhance Bella's appearance for the show. Despite the staged nature of the program, Layla possessed a genuine belief that some of the participating men had the potential to appreciate Bella. Such an outcome would be mutually beneficial for both parties involved. Bella, understanding Layla's perspective, decided against dressing up for the show. Instead, she intended to embrace her reality as a divorced single mother. With her son Leo yearning for a father figure, Bella saw this show as an opportunity to not only earn money but also find a suitable partner for Leo. In line with this decision, Bella persuaded Layla to allow her to participate using her honest information. She introduced herself as a single mother, dressed in modest attire, and donned a mask as she made her way to the recording site. The rules of the show were simple. The male participants were tasked with choosing a female guest solely based on their initial impression. If the female guest accepted the rose and the male's responses to her 3 questions satisfied her, she would unveil her mask, marking the progression to the next round. During the first round of recordings, Bella, appearing as a plain single mother, was not chosen by any of the male participants. Such an outcome was anticipated by Bella. After the recording, Layla accompanied her out of the television station, expressing disappointment towards the men's failure to recognize Bella's true worth. But Bella remained steadfast in her optimism. I knew it would be like this. Don't worry, there is someone out there meant for me, she reassured Layla. After the holidays, the bidding results were finally announced, fueled by his confidence in his bid and the support of Beta Craig Blackturner. Alpha had believed victory was a certainty. His public relations department had even planned a press conference celebrating the win. However, the actual outcome caught them off guard. The municipal council declared Parablutions as the victorious company, relaxedly sipping tea in his office. Alpha received the news of his failed bid from Mark. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Soon after, Eleanor, Alpha's mother, called him, expressing her frustration and confusion. Xavier, what has happened? She demanded. Mom, I just found out as well, Alpha calmly explained. I'll contact you once I have more information. Eleanor was livid, her anger palpable. What had gone wrong? Weren't they supposed to win the bidding? Her initial assumption was that Pamela Green, after obtaining what she desired, had breached their agreement. Now that her daughter's issue seemed to be resolved, Pamela no longer cared. Fuming with rage, Eleanor angrily dialed Pamela's number. Chapter 30. While Pamela was having a facial treatment at a beauty salon, she was shocked upon hearing the news. I'll go home and ask Beta Craig immediately. She called Beta Craig to inquire about the bidding, only to receive a slightly impatient response. It is the Pack Council's decision. Beta Craig was not wrong. Choosing the Parablutions was indeed the Pack Council's decision. The Trevor family, having returned from overseas and deciding to invest in the Pack, was naturally welcomed by the council. However, had Beta Craig been willing to support Alpha Xavier, this matter would not have fallen into the hands of the Parablutions. Of course, he would never reveal this to Pamela. Pamela sensed the impatience in Beta Craig's tone, well aware of his temperament. Resentfully, she hung up the phone. Samantha, upon hearing the news, rushed back home and anxiously asked her mother, "What should we do?" Pamela replied, "We have to wait for your father to come back and get more information first." Samantha protested, "I can't wait. You should find someone else to ask." She was truly anxious as she had promised Eleanor to take care of this matter. Now, with things taking a turn like this, she had to come up with a reason, or else it would be difficult to explain herself. Pamela shook her head and said, Others might not know about it either. Besides, he scolded me when I called just now. We better wait for him to come home before making any decisions. Samantha expressed her concerns, but Mom, what if Miss Grant can't wait? You know her temper, Pamela reassured her. What are you afraid of? The agreement between you and Alpha Xavier has been made. Can she really go back on her word because of this? Samantha replied, It is not just that. I am worried she will make life difficult for me. You know how cruel she was to Bella. Pamela comforted Samantha. People know when to back down. Eleanor Grant was mean to Bella because she saw her as an easy target with no support. But you are different. With your father behind you, there is no need to fear her. Samantha was relieved and no longer as anxious, as they both sat in the living room, waiting for Beta Craig's return. Yelena suddenly called Samantha. Did you see the television? Samantha impatiently replied, Number, how could I be in the mood to watch television now? Yelena hurriedly continued, I was at the plaza earlier and saw Bella on the big screen. Samantha was stunned. Bella on television, Yelena explained. It was on the finance channel. There was some press conference about a bidding. Before Yelena could finish, Samantha grabbed the remote control, turned on the television, and switched to the finance channel. There, both Samantha and Pamela saw Bella on screen. They exchanged glances and immediately understood what was going on. They had finally discovered the source of the problem. It seemed that Bella must have done something. Mark called for a meeting, causing Alpha Xavier to rub his forehead. This time, he truly had a headache, knowing that Beta Craig had no intention of fighting for him. They were about to get engaged, so why wasn't Beta Craig helping him as his future son-in-law? What had happened? The image of Beta Craig and Bella together at the cafe flashed through Alpha Xavier's mind. Is this related? He pondered. But why did Beta Craig help Bella? As Alpha Xavier rubbed his forehead, both Pamela and Samantha were similarly troubled by how to manage the situation. The secret relationship between Bella and Beta Craig had always been a headache. When Pamela brought Samantha into the family, Bella was just 13 years old and going through a rebellious phase. She resented both Pamela and Samantha and caused frequent disruptions. It was a constant headache for Beta Craig. On one hand, he felt guilty towards Pamela and Samantha. On the other hand, he had a daughter who had been spoiled since childhood. There was no easy solution to this problem. Then, Bella suddenly disappeared. At that time, Beta Craig was not yet the beta of the pack. He held the position of undersecretary in another pack. He was immensely worried and searched everywhere for Bella. Eventually, he discovered that Bella had returned to the pack. In haste, Beta Craig went there as well. However, Bella was resolute and refused to return with him. She even sought to change her guardian to her uncle. Annoyed and angry, Beta Craig had no choice but to agree, after Bella changed her guardianship and surname to Bella Moonshadow. She had no contact with Beta Craig for the next 10 years or so. Beta Craig was once a busy man dedicated to his work. However, he was often shut out by Bella, his daughter, who had a stubborn temper. She even went as far as threatening to commit suicide if he bothered her again. This strained their once close relationship, causing Beta Craig great sadness. Eventually, he stopped caring about Bella. Later on, Beta Craig was transferred to another pack as their beta, and the whole family moved with him. One day, Samantha, who attended the affiliated middle school of Silver Oak Academy, came home with news of seeing Bella. It was then that they discovered Bella had been admitted to the Silver Oak Academy. Upon hearing this, Beta Craig decided to visit Bella. Unfortunately, he returned with a gloomy expression. During Bella's wedding to Alpha Xavier, it was George Moonshadow who walked her down the aisle. Alpha Xavier was unaware that Bella's real father was Beta Craig. This unknown fact led to Eleanor's mistreatment of Bella, as she believed Bella was merely trying to marry up in social status. After Bella and Alpha Xavier divorced, Bella disappeared and was not heard from for years, which brought some calm to Pamela and Samantha's hearts. Little did they know, Bella would return, seeking help from Beta Craig. Based on the current situation, Bella no longer seemed like her old innocent self. She certainly had her own ulterior motives for coming back this time. Pamela felt an uneasiness in her heart. The main reason behind Bella and Alpha Xavier's divorce was his affair with Samantha. If it weren't for this, Bella wouldn't have divorced him. Could her return be fueled by a desire for revenge? Currently, Alpha Xavier and Samantha's affair was a verbal agreement. The formalities had not been discussed yet. If Alpha Xavier were to discover Bella's true identity, he would definitely call off the engagement with Samantha. It was a secret that Pamela couldn't hide forever. Knowing that Bella had sought Beta Craig's help once, it was highly likely that she would seek it again. Eventually, the truth would be revealed. Pamela and Samantha anxiously tried to think of a solution, while Beta Craig went straight to find Bella after work. Bella's attitude towards Beta Craig had improved slightly due to Alpha Carl's company winning a bid. She didn't object when he suggested having dinner together. After dinner, Beta Craig offered to take Bella home. As they stood in front of Bella's old apartment, memories flooded Beta Craig's mind, contrasting with the luxurious house he now lived in with his Luna and children. This contrast made him feel a little sad, prompting him to suggest that Bella move back in with him. Initially, Bella seemed to be in a good mood, but when he made the suggestion, her demeanor changed abruptly. "Mr. Turner, please give up on this idea," she responded with hostility. "Bella, I know you've suffered a lot over the years. What happened in the past was all my fault. If we could turn back time, I would never make the same mistakes. I have regretted it for so many years. Bella, please forgive me." "I won't forgive you," Bella sneered. "Mr. Turner, don't waste your energy. Leave. Today is the last time we meet. Please, never appear in my life again." Beta Craig hadn't expected Bella to sever ties with him so quickly. "Bella," he called out, reaching out to hold her hand as she prepared to leave. "Let her go." A voice suddenly interjected and Beta Craig was pushed to the ground before he could react. Witnessing Beta Craig's fall, his driver quickly rushed to his side. "Mr. Turner, are you okay?" "I am fine," replied Beta Craig. The driver, who was physically imposing, breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing that Beta Craig was unharmed. However, he intended to confront Alpha Carl and grab the person who had pushed Beta Craig. But Beta Craig recognized the person and urgently called off his driver. Alpha Carl, on the other hand, was not in a forgiving mood. He was in high spirits after winning the bid and decided to treat everyone to a meal at a hotel. It was only upon arrival that he noticed Bella's absence. When he asked Lucas, he was informed that she had returned home early due to not feeling well. Alpha Carl couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Thus, he drove to Bella's house. Upon arrival, he saw Beta Craig's car turning onto Bella's street. The sight startled Alpha Carl. What is he doing here? He wondered. Parking his car at a distance, he proceeded to walk towards the apartment. That is when he saw Beta Craig talking to Bella, apologizing for his past mistakes. Alpha Carl seethed with anger, thinking, "This old man, this dirty old beefustard, actually wants to pursue Bella." Fortunately, he had arrived at the right time. When he witnessed Beta Craig grabbing Bella's hand, he couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed out, pushing Beta Craig to the ground. Bella was also shocked by Alpha Carl's sudden appearance, and asked, "Why are you here?" "If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have been able to witness this amusing scene," Alpha Carl replied coldly. What did Mr. Turner intend to do by grabbing my girlfriend's hand in the middle of the night? Before Beta Craig could respond, Bella spoke up. Who said I am your girlfriend? Bella. Don't be afraid of him. Beta Craig Turner is just a beta, and I am not scared of him. Even if he were the Prime Minister, Alpha Carl reassured her. How dare he have an affair? Just wait and see how I'll deal with him. Alpha Carl's declaration left Bella shocked. How did he know about her relationship with Beta Craig after her mother's death? Samantha and Pamela suddenly appeared. At first, Bella thought her father had remarried, but she later discovered that Samantha was actually Beta Craig's biological daughter, only 2 years younger than her. It became clear that Beta Craig had an affair while he was mated to her mother. This revelation disappointed Bella, and she refused to acknowledge Beta Craig as her father. Instead, she returned to her uncle, who belonged to the pack. She left shortly after Beta Craig took office elsewhere, so her connection to him remained a secret. Beta Craig's career had been successful and smooth lately, but if their relationship was exposed, it would be detrimental to him. Having Samantha and Pamela was seen as keeping a mistress, and the scandal could ruin his political career. But why did Alpha Carl get involved? What does this have to do with him? Bella wondered. Bella misunderstood the situation. But Beta Craig understood. It seemed Alpha Carl had misconstrued his relationship with Bella. Seeing Alpha Carl's angry expression, Beta Craig realized that he had fallen in love with Bella. Alpha Carl was attractive, and the Trevor family was wealthy. Having such a good family would be a desirable option for Bella. But how should Beta Craig inform Alpha Carl about his relationship with Bella?